Dragon Ball, starting by saving the Saiyans. Hey! Look who's back for more adventures. We love having you here to continue this story that keeps us all awake. Important note, all of this is pure fiction. So don't try any techniques you hear here in real life, your neighbor might call the cops. This amazing novel and all its rights belong to the original author. We're just the ones giving it voice and drama. Are you enjoying the show? Prove it by subscribing to our YouTube channel and leaving that like that motivates us so much. And if you want VIP access to exclusive content, our Patreon is waiting with things you won't find anywhere else. Chapter 51 The Shocked Crowd. All done. All done, our injuries are all healed. Yes, not a single injury, we're all healed. Buteo and the others touched their bodies in surprise, feeling the surging power and abundant stamina within them. If it weren't for the fact that their combat suits were somewhat worn and covered in wounds, they would have thought they were dreaming. That being, it's truly amazing, Raul. Buteo stepped forward, looking at Raul, and praised, "We were all on the verge of death just now, almost dying, but we were saved." "Yes, and what's with your combat power? How come you only have 5,000 combat power, yet you were able to kill the terrifying monster?" "He had a combat power of 10,000. Celia nodded, then recalled what had just happened, still somewhat shocked. Roy was now uninjured, standing there, staring at Raul. She also wanted to know why logistics personnel with a combat power of 5,000 could directly kill a monster with a combat power of 10,000. This world, has it gone mad? It's simple. Because my combat power far surpasses his, it was easy to kill him, Raul said with a smile, making no attempt to hide it. Your combat power surpasses his? Urzi looked at the numbers on his detector, puzzled. But the number on the detector is only 5,000, it hasn't changed at all. Don't believe me? Raul laughed, pointing to the detectors they were wearing. Don't trust machine numbers. Some people can hide their combat power, like me. Of course, if you don't believe me, I'll release some of my combat power now, and you can see for yourselves. Okay. Roy blurted out, eager to know just how powerful Raul was. Alright, watch closely. Raul took a deep breath, unleashing a powerful aura. Buteo, closest to Raul, instantly felt a terrifying aura, making it hard for him to breathe. As Raul unleashed his combat power, a gust of wind arose centered on him, causing the surrounding earth to tremble slightly. This. Buteo stared at Raul in horror. The others were also shocked, watching the constantly changing numbers on their detectors 5,000, 5,100, 5,200, 6,000, 6,100, 6,200, 7,000, 7,100, 7,200, 8,000, 9,000, 10,000. Impossible. It's reached 10,000, and its combat power is still increasing, 11,000, 12,000, 13,000, 20,000, 20,000 combat power, 21,000, 22,000. Boom, 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 boom. The combat power detectors worn by Buteo and the others exploded instantly due to overload because they rapidly exceeded the detector's value, turning into ashes. It exceeded the detector's detection value. Buteo, not even bothering to clean the debris from his ears, was dumbfounded. They even suspected that the detectors were malfunctioning, but seeing that everyone else's detectors were in the same state, they knew that this was definitely not a coincidence. Raul, what is your combat power? Roy bit his lip, hesitated for a moment, and finally asked. Raul glanced at the battle-damaged Roy, a tragic beauty in his eyes, then smiled and said, not much, less than 100,000. Less than 100,000? Buteo was stunned by this number. Their Saiyan power level was only around 10,000 at most. Raul saying his power level was less than 100,000 meant he far surpassed the strongest Saiyan currently. However, this less than 100,000 was debatable. 20,000 or 30,000 was less than 100,000, and 80,000 to 90,000 was also less than 100,000. Shock, even fear, filled them. They couldn't understand how Raul could surpass all the Saiyans in power level without fighting, without being involved in combat. Let's go. You're just waiting to die here. Get out of here quickly. Raul warned. The battle had only just begun. If it dragged on, they might become Frieza's target and be hunted down by his army. Raul isn't afraid of most of Frieza's army right now, unless the entire Jinryu force is mobilized, especially if their captain comes too. Otherwise, Raul can usually handle it. His real fear is that his high fighting power will attract Frieza's attention, causing Frieza to descend upon Earth. If that happens, Earth and the Saiyans will be finished. So, his current goal is to survive. Survive and develop, and avoid encountering Frieza and his forces until he can confront them head-on. Go. Why should we go? That despicable Frieza wants to kill all of us Saiyans. Calda was furious, then looked at Raul, but Raul, your fighting power far surpasses that of all Saiyans now. Can't you handle Frieza? Yes, with you here, we'll go back, kill Frieza, and take away his title of Emperor of the Universe. Ulchi said excitedly, clenching his fists, his eyes filled with fighting spirit. Buteo remained relatively calm. He understood the implication in Raul's words. It seemed he didn't want to defeat Frieza. He asked, Raul, don't you want to kill Frieza, or are you unable to defeat him? Really? Raul, you're so strong, and you can't defeat Frieza? Roy exclaimed in surprise. That's close to 100,000 power level. Roy had already made Raul a goal to surpass, and even felt a strange mix of emotions because he had saved her. Yes, Raul said without hiding anything, it's not that I don't want to defeat Frieza, but that I can't. I know you have many questions, so I'll just say a few words. Frieza has a Jinryu force under his command. As the ace of Frieza's army, you should know something about them. Buteo and the others nodded. Celia added, yes, I've heard of them. The Jinryu force. I heard that Frieza collected super talented warriors from space, and each of them surpasses even a Saiyan warriors. Yes, I heard they are invincible under Frieza. There's no enemy they can't defeat. Whenever they take action, victory is assured. Buteo added, his expression turning grim when Raul mentioned them. From the various rumors they'd heard, each member of the Jinryu force was incredibly powerful, far beyond the capabilities of ordinary Saiyans. That's right, apart from Guldo, every member of the Jinryu force has a power level exceeding 50,000, with Captain Jinryu's power level around 120,000. Roljan's expression was grave as he described the Jinryu force's strength. Furthermore, although Guldo has the lowest power level, only around 10,000, he possesses special superpowers. Even those stronger than him need to be constantly careful, or they might be killed. Lowest power level 10,000? Their power levels are mostly above 50,000, and the Jinryu force captain has 120,000? Buteo and the other Saiyans were completely dumbfounded. Their detectors could only detect power levels of around 20,000, anything higher would explode. They could only infer their power levels from guesswork. And Roljan, their savior who had just saved their lives, had no reason to lie to them. This meant that even they, the Saiyans, couldn't defeat Guldo, the lowest-ranking member of the Jinryu force, in a one-on-one fight? Of course, if it were just them, I have plenty of ways to wipe them out. The key is Frieza. Frieza's base fighting power is already around 530,000, and he can transform. Each transformation multiplies his fighting power. Now you understand why I don't want to fight Frieza right now, and even want to avoid him. Shock, terror. Buteo and the others fell silent, lost in an unbelievable shock. Frieza, that monster, is he really from the same dimension as them? Chapter 52 Three-Party Movements. Goodbye, Earth. Raul watched the several spaceships ascend into the sky. After Raul's persuasion, they had abandoned their idea of fighting Frieza. Raul told them to hide on Earth. Asyana was there now, and he had informed her through the new detector that even if they wanted to cause trouble, Asyana's current fighting power could easily handle them. Now it's time to destroy the evidence. Raul sneered, looking at the corpses of several Frieza's army members on the nearby ground. Go. Raul casually conjured a few energy balls and threw them. With several loud booms, the corpses turned into dust on the planet. Now, even if Frieza sent people to investigate, they wouldn't find any evidence. Wait, there's their ship. Raul spent some time locating their ship on the planet, landing about 100 miles from the location where Buteo and his group had fought. What a waste. If we brought them back, Dr. Brief might have been able to modify them. Raul shook his head, extending his finger. Small energy orbs condensed at his fingertip, which he then released towards the spacecraft. In the blink of an eye, the spacecraft vanished into dust. Alright, done. Let's move on. Raul clapped his hands, nodded in satisfaction, and continued aboard his probe, flying out of the planet and towards Planet Vegeta. Planet Vegeta, the Saiyan Royal Palace. King Vegeta sat high on his throne, looking down at the attendants below, and asked, "Well, are you ready? We Saiyans have now assembled over 90% of our forces. I believe that bastard Frieza should be making his move soon." "Yes, King Vegeta, we are ready," a tall attendant replied respectfully. "They are now beside the palace, awaiting your summons." "Very good," King Vegeta said in a deep voice, a hint of pleasure on his face. "Bring them up. Let me see our elite Saiyan warriors." "Yes, Your Majesty," the attendant nodded respectfully and went down. A moment later, the attendant returned with a group of people. It was a team of 10, 7 men and 3 women, all of whom were currently the Saiyans' most elite warriors. Just standing together, their powerful, almost suffocating aura was palpable. King Vegeta, as the king of the Saiyans, also felt the oppressive aura of this powerful force. He nodded in satisfaction, revealing a rare smile. "Very good, haha, very good indeed. As expected of our Saiyans' most elite warriors. King Vegeta." The warriors bowed slightly and shouted in unison, showing their respect for King Vegeta. King Vegeta nodded and looked at the attendant beside him. The attendant immediately understood and introduced, "Your Majesty, each of them is a battle-hardened warrior. Each of their fighting power exceeds 5,000, especially Turpite, whose fighting power has exceeded 8,000. Oh." King Vegeta's eyes lit up. Did that mean this person's fighting power was almost close to his own? "Your Majesty." The lean Turpite stepped forward and said respectfully, releasing a powerful aura for King Vegeta to see. "Not bad." Vegeta nodded, quite satisfied, but then he seemed to remember something and looked at the attendant beside him. "Isn't there a rumor that among the lower-class Saiyans, there's one named Bardock whose fighting power is approaching 10,000? Why isn't he here?" The waiter, hearing King Vegeta mention Bardock, showed admiration for him. Both being lower-class Saiyans, he could only strive to become King Vegeta's servant, obeying his orders, while Bardock was revered by countless other lower-class Saiyans. The difference was simply too great. The attendant respectfully reported, "King Vegeta, Lord Bardock hasn't returned yet. I heard it will take about a month for him to arrive on Planet Vegeta. Should we wait for Lord Bardock?" King Vegeta frowned, pondered for a moment, then shook his head, saying, "No need. A month is too long. By the time Bardock returns, the Saiyans will probably have gathered, and Frieza will be attacking us Saiyans. Then, that bastard Frieza will hold the initiative, not us. Forget it, proceed as planned." "Yes, King Vegeta," the attendant respectfully replied. The 10 people below also bowed respectfully and withdrew, awaiting King Vegeta's summons again. That would be the moment for their final battle against Frieza. Planet Vegeta, inside a giant saucer-shaped spaceship in outer space. Frieza sat in his custom-made spacecraft, gazing at the beautiful planet Vegeta in the distance, his destructive urges barely contained. He glanced at the busy soldiers and casually asked, "How's the team we sent to wipe out the fleeing Saiyan doing?" "Yes, Lord Frieza, we'll contact them immediately." The soldiers anxiously pressed buttons to make contact. "Cupo, Lord Cupo, please respond, please respond. This is Frieza's Legion Command, please respond. Horus, please respond." The soldiers of Frieza's Legion, sitting in the spaceship's command center, urgently contacted each other to leave the ship and track down the elite team that had killed the Saiyan. A long time passed without any response. A red-skinned soldier, sweating profusely, said tremblingly to Frieza, "Frieza, Lord, we've made contact, but there's been no response. No one is responding, they seem to have vanished." "Vanished?" Frieza's cold eyes fixed on the soldier, a glint of light flashing in them. The soldier was lifted up by an unknown force and floated in midair. "What use are you if you can't even handle this small matter?" Frieza flicked a finger, sending a grain-sized energy beam into the soldier's body. Frieza then clenched his fist, and the soldier exploded from within, turning into a pool of blood. "HMPH, contact them, keep contacting them. Also, send another team to find them. Live or dead." Frieza coldly surveyed the few survivors around him. Yes, Your Majesty." The 5 surviving support soldiers breathed a sigh of relief. Unless Frieza was truly enraged, he usually only killed one person, serving as a deterrent. They were filled with relief and immediately followed Frieza's instructions, contacting the other team and dispatching a powerful force, led by the mighty Dodoria, to search for them. If they're dead, fine. If they're alive, kill them along with the Saiyans, a bunch of trash, Frieza said calmly, his cold eyes radiating terrifying killing intent. "Yes, Your Majesty." The numerous soldiers present dared not utter a word, immediately responding respectfully to Frieza's words and carrying out his orders, fearing they might become the next unfortunate victims. Frieza piloted his spacecraft, approaching the glass of the command center before him. Through the transparent glass, he gazed at Planet Vegeta in the distance, his fingers lightly tapping on his personal spacecraft, his gaze cold and detached. Chapter 53 Surprise Attack. Planet Vegeta, the Saiyan Royal Palace. As time passed, more and more Saiyans returned to Planet Vegeta. King Vegeta stood by the window, watching the Saiyans come and go outside. Because Saiyans spent most of their time fighting on other planets for Frieza, they rarely returned to their homeland. Most Saiyans only saw familiar faces every few months or even years. Now, with Saiyan companions everywhere and familiar friends and family appearing at any time, even for the usually aloof Saiyans, it felt like a holiday. Most Saiyans were happily enjoying their newfound peace, completely unaware of the strangeness. Only a very few Saiyans were puzzled, even alarmed and suspicious. King Vegeta, as the current ruler of the Saiyans, had long since noticed this unusual situation and taken action. "It's almost time," King Vegeta said, his gaze deep as he looked at the Saiyans gathered outside, lost in thought. Vegeta. King Vegeta thought of his son, Vegeta, a super genius whose birth-tested fighting potential was absolutely top tier among Saiyans, something even he, the Saiyan King, was quite satisfied with. Moreover, Vegeta hadn't returned yet. The news was that he was still fighting outside, with no word of return. That was for the best. He could temporarily escape the vortex of conflict and enjoy a brief period of peace. He would surely surpass his father in the future. "What's wrong with me? Why have I become so sentimental?" King Vegeta was filled with worry, even somewhat at a loss. Had he, the most ruthless and cold-blooded person who killed his own men, changed? Or perhaps he had lost his confidence in victory? Someone. King Vegeta shook his head, no longer thinking about those things, and shouted loudly. At King Vegeta's summons, a Saiyan servant entered, bowing respectfully. "Your Majesty, what are your orders?" Summon them here. We won't wait any longer, we'll launch a surprise attack." King Vegeta said calmly, his hands behind his back. "Yes, Your Majesty." The waiter's eyes gleamed with excitement, it was finally about to begin. The waiter respectfully withdrew and immediately found the 10 exceptionally strong Saiyans who had been pre-arranged. These 10 Saiyans, simply by standing together, exuded a terrifying aura. "King Vegeta," the 10 shouted in unison, showing their respect for King Vegeta. King Vegeta nodded. Seeing the 3 of them again, his confidence grew. "Prepare. We'll attack now and kill Frieza." "Kill Frieza." The 10 men's eyes flashed with a fierce killing intent, a chilling aura that even made the weaker waiter feel. "Let's go." King Vegeta said calmly, leading the way, followed by what could be considered the most elite group of Saiyan warriors. A moment later, in the spaceport of Planet Vegeta, a saucer-shaped spaceship specially made by King Vegeta took off, ascending into the air and heading towards Frieza's even larger saucer-shaped spaceship, carrying the Saiyans' hopes. "Warning, warning, the Saiyan spaceship is approaching. Warning, warning." Alarms sounded in Frieza's command center. This situation was immediately reported to him. The distinctive creaking of footsteps approached. Frieza, unusually, did not ride in his special personal flying vehicle, but instead slowly entered with Zarbon and Dodoria. The logistics soldiers of Frieza's army perked up when they saw Frieza enter, respectfully greeting, "Frieza, the great sage." Frieza calmly nodded, then asked, "What's going on?" A soldier respectfully replied, "Your Majesty, there's a Saiyan spaceship. The owner claims to be King Vegeta, and he has urgent business with you." "Saiyans?" Dodoria exclaimed in surprise. "Frieza, should we shoot down this Saiyan spaceship?" "Yes, Frieza," the handsome Zarbon said coldly. "These Saiyans don't know we're about to annihilate all Saiyans, yet they still dare to come here. They're utterly ignorant. Let's just kill these Saiyan monkeys who've come to their deaths right here." Frieza let out a strange laugh, his eyes filled with murderous intent. "Oh ho ho ho, don't say that. They're going to die anyway. Let them come. I want to see what these Saiyans are up to." "Yes, Your Majesty." Sabo and Dodoria nodded respectfully. Dodoria, seeing the soldiers who hadn't yet moved, roared, "What are you all standing around for? Let them in now." "Yes, Yes. The soldiers, panicked, immediately followed Frieza's instructions and arranged for the spaceship to dock. Frieza looked at Dodoria beside him and asked, "Dodoria, how's the matter I asked you to investigate?" Seeing Frieza looking at him and asking a question, Dodoria became apprehensive and respectfully replied, "Your Majesty, I've investigated. They followed the Saiyans to planet Kana, but there were only traces of battle on the planet. Neither the Saiyans nor the team that carried out your Majesty's orders have been found." Frieza frowned. This was the first time he'd heard of such a strange thing. It seemed someone knew he was going to investigate and had covered up all traces beforehand. "Your Majesty, should we continue the investigation?" Dodoria asked respectfully. Frieza pondered for a moment, then said, "No need. They're just a few Saiyans. Even if we let them live, it's useless. Next time we encounter them, we'll execute them directly. Our most important task now is to eliminate all the Saiyans on Planet Vegeta." "Yes, Your Majesty," Dodoria replied respectfully. Suddenly, a violent explosion rang out, accompanied by the shaking of the spaceship, causing Frieza and his companions to sway. Dodoria exclaimed in surprise, "What happened? What's going on?" Zabo looked at the soldiers investigating the situation and quickly asked, "What happened? What's going on?" The soldiers at the control console looked anxious and hurriedly pressed buttons on the console while listening to the information coming through the communicator. A moment later, they all reported the situation in alarm. "It's terrible, Your Majesty. That Saiyan squad that entered the spaceship is killing the soldiers on duty in the spaceship's passageway and is rushing this way." "Yes, Lord Frieza, the soldiers are suffering heavy casualties. Your Majesty, they won't listen to any warnings. Any soldier who tries to stop them is killed. Their fighting power is immense." Frieza's face turned cold. "So, this group of Saiyans arrived at this moment because they sensed something?" Frieza remained calm. He calmly ordered, "Then what are we waiting for? Send more soldiers and kill them." "Yes, Your Majesty." The soldiers in the command room immediately replied, dispatching more soldiers to stop the Saiyans. Chapter 54 The Last King Vegeta. King Vegeta roared, unleashing a scorching energy blast towards the approaching soldiers. A deafening explosion followed, and when the dust settled, most of the soldiers were dead, leaving only a few strong fighters struggling to hold on. "Kill!" King Vegeta swung his arm, and the Saiyan warriors behind him charged forward to fight the remaining wounded. The battle quickly became one-sided, with the Saiyan warriors gaining the upper hand and swiftly eliminating the remaining enemies. "Keep advancing!" King Vegeta shouted, leading the charge towards the command center. The other Saiyans followed closely behind, eliminating any soldiers who stood in their way, advancing with unstoppable momentum. Frieza's army was mainly divided into two types of personnel: support staff and combat personnel. Support staff had no combat ability requirements. As long as they swore allegiance to Frieza and possessed a skill, they could join the logistics department of Frieza's army, performing menial tasks. Of course, the most respectable members of the logistical support team are the scientists, who are responsible for the development and research of Frieza's army's combat equipment. This includes improved, more portable combat power detectors, combat suits, and more advanced spaceships. Another group consists of Frieza's combat personnel, a vital component of his army. They are essential for Frieza's dominance of the universe. These combat personnel are strong individuals with a combat power of around 1,000, collected by Frieza from various planets across the universe. They are responsible for attacking planets and carrying out various combat missions for Frieza. In other words, a combat power of 1,000 is just the average among Frieza's combat personnel. Someone like Raditz is only considered slightly stronger than the average grunt in Frieza's army. It's not uncommon for the true elite combat personnel to have a combat power of 3,000 to 5,000. Of course, whether in Frieza's army or in the universe, those with a combat power exceeding 10,000 are extremely rare. They are the most powerful cosmic warriors. Even after Frieza traversed most of the galaxy, he only found about 10 powerful individuals with a fighting strength exceeding 10,000. The soldiers on Frieza's ship generally had fighting strengths between 2,000 and 5,000, with only a small number of elite soldiers with strengths above 5,000 gathered specifically to fight Planet Vegeta. The Saiyans summoned by King Vegeta, however, each possessed a fighting strength above 5,000, making them unstoppable for a time. However, human stamina is depleted, even for powerful Saiyans. until the difference in fighting strength becomes too significant. Each battle consumes a portion of their stamina. King Vegeta broke through the most terrifying encirclement, a force led by an elite warrior with a fighting strength of 8,000, and composed of several powerful soldiers with fighting strengths between 5,000 and 6,000. King Vegeta and his companions were also caught in a fierce battle. After fighting for a long time and exhausting themselves, they encountered a powerful enemy and finally defeated them after going through countless hardships. Shakufer, how many are left? King Vegeta leaned against the wall, panting heavily, sweat pouring down his face. Sweat mixed with blood flowed down, obscuring his vision. Besides King Vegeta, the strongest member of the team, Shakfa, was also covered in blood, both from enemies and his own. Hearing King Vegeta's words, he glanced around and replied, "King Vegeta, there are 5 more, including you." King Vegeta was silent for a moment, then casually wiped the blood and sweat from his face and said in a low voice, "Is that so? But it doesn't matter. The command center is just ahead. We'll see Frieza soon. Rest for a while and recover your strength. We must face that bastard Frieza in our strongest form." Yes. Shakfa and the others sat down to rest. Having defeated this strongest group of enemies, they hadn't encountered any soldiers yet, making it a good time to rest. "King Vegeta, I have another question. Why didn't we just blow up Frieza's ship? Would that have secured victory?" Shakfa suddenly asked, and everyone else looked at King Vegeta. King Vegeta shook his head, his voice low and somber. "No, I've stumbled upon some of Frieza's secrets. Frieza can survive even in outer space. A spaceship explosion won't kill Frieza." "How could that be?" Shakufa's face contorted in horror. "How could there be a race that could survive in outer space?" The other surviving Saiyans fell silent. For the first time, they questioned their ability to defeat Frieza. King Vegeta, observing their expressions, roughly understood their thoughts. He couldn't let things continue like this, otherwise, their morale would be severely damaged before the battle even began, and they'd be halfway to defeat. "Let's go. Frieza's command center is just ahead." King Vegeta stood up, rallying the other Saiyans. Shakufa and the others rose with sharp gazes. Yes, things had come to this. Frieza's command center was just ahead, Frieza was waiting for them there. How could they stand still now? The hatch to the command center creaked open, and King Vegeta and his group watched as it slowly opened before them. Frieza was right there. "Oh ho 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 ho. Isn't that King Vegeta? What's wrong with you, looking so disheveled?" The moment the hatch opened, Frieza's repulsive voice rang out. King Vegeta and the others, their clothes tattered and battered, instantly saw Frieza and the large number of warriors gathered in the command room. No wonder they defeated the last wave of soldiers, gained a brief rest, and encountered no soldiers to stop them on their advance. Shakhtar's pupils contracted sharply when he saw the large number of soldiers in the command room. So many soldiers, and the even more powerful Frieza, what could the 5 of them possibly do? King Vegeta saw Frieza right in front of him, so close. If he took another step, Frieza would be right in front of him. King Vegeta's murderous eyes were fixed on him, his voice heavy. "You hold off the other soldiers, I'm going to kill Frieza." Understood. The other Saiyans' eyes hardened, they knew the moment of truth had arrived. They were either Saiyans or Frieza and his army, only one side could survive, there was absolutely no possibility of coexistence. "Kill!" King Vegeta roared, and at his command, the remaining Saiyans charged towards the army that outnumbered them tenfold or even 100-fold. "Frieza!" King Vegeta roared, unleashing an unprecedented aura as he charged towards Frieza, his gaze unwavering, ignoring even the numerous soldiers around him. "Frieza, die, you monster! Victory belongs to us Saiyans!" King Vegeta gathered his most powerful energy blast ever, blasting it towards Frieza with unstoppable force. Frieza smiled. Watching King Vegeta's one-man show with boredom, watching the slowly approaching energy blast. Frieza slowly extended his finger, pointing it at King Vegeta, who was still ferociously increasing the energy of his energy blast when suddenly he saw a dazzling red light, unstoppable. Piercing through the immense energy blast, piercing the space between him and Frieza, as if teleporting, it struck King Vegeta in the chest, penetrating him and entering the spaceship's interior. Accompanied by the explosions and alarms from the ship's control room, King Vegeta opened his mouth, then slowly collapsed. In his final moments, he saw his comrades being overwhelmed by the sheer number of Frieza's soldiers, dying instantly. Thud. King Vegeta fell straight to the ground, In his last moments, he recalled his entire life, his image frozen in the joy of Vegeta's birth. Finally, King Vegeta lay on the cold floor of the spaceship, his eyes wide open, dying with unfinished business. Useless, just useless, Frieza coldly stared at the dead King Vegeta. Guards! Throw these trashy corpses off the spaceship. Yes, Lord Frieza. The massive spaceship floated in outer space above Planet Vegeta, slowly rotating, suppressing the Saiyans on Planet Vegeta as always. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 55 Unexpected People. That must be Frieza's spaceship. After a long journey through space, Law finally arrived at Planet Vegeta. He sat in his spacecraft, passing by the giant flying saucer on Planet Vegeta, and saw the enormous saucer-shaped spaceship through the hatch. Law now considered himself a returning combatant, needing no disguise, and rushed towards Planet Vegeta. The spaceship was towed and landed at Planet Vegeta's spaceport, where people were still busy coming and going. Law stepped out of the hatch and saw crowds of people flying in the air, a special scene unseen on Earth. Saiyans who had mastered flight techniques, except when leaving Planet Vegeta to fly to other universes, always traveled by air. Cars didn't exist on Planet Vegeta. It was peak season for Saiyans returning home, and there wasn't enough manpower. There were too many Saiyans like Law from the Shogun's mansion. Normally, they would check changes in combat power, but now they waited a long time, and no one came. Raoul, of course, wasn't going to foolishly wait there. What he needed was to determine the approximate time of Planet Vegeta's destruction. The key figures were Bardock's family, so instead of returning to his own home on Planet Vegeta, Raoul flew towards Bardock and Giant's house. It's like a New Year's celebration. Raoul soared through the air, watching the bustling Saiyans, a lively scene of drinking, eating, fighting, and chatting. Familiar faces he rarely saw in a year were now frequently appearing. A vibrant, flourishing spectacle. Raoul stared expressionlessly at the Saiyans below. This scene of prosperity, to him, was like a bubble floating in the sky, beautiful, multicolored reflections, but capable of bursting and disappearing at the slightest breeze. Roll, you're back too. Yeah. Hey, Roll, we haven't seen you lately. Aren't you a support staff member? Yes, I went out to run some errands. Hi, Roll. Hello, Uncle Ireland, you're back too? Yeah, King Frieza summoned all of us Saiyans, and I only fought half of it before running back, Since Roll often visited Bardock and Giant's house, the Saiyans in the neighborhood were quite familiar with him, and they greeted him warmly. I'm here. Roll descended from the sky, arriving at the bustling and crowded place where Giant often worked, which was also where Roll used to work. Don't rush, I'll be right there. Roll, you're finally back. More and more people have been returning lately, and we're almost overwhelmed. Come and help. Coming. Roll replied with a smile, walked to Giant's side, and skillfully began cutting meat and distributing food. As Raoul distributed food, he asked Giant, Aunt Giant, has Bardock returned? Bardock? Not yet, but he'll be here soon. He said he should arrive in less than a week. Giant handed a large bag of food to young Saiyan while answering Raoul's question. That's good. Raoul breathed a sigh of relief. He had calculated Bardock's arrival time, and as he predicted, Bardock certainly hadn't reached Planet Vegeta yet. How's Kakarot? Raoul cut a large piece of cooked meat, dividing it into smaller pieces and putting them into a bag. He's still the same, staying in the infant incubation pod all day. He hasn't come out yet. Giant smiled gently, taking the bag from Raoul. Alright, stop chatting. It's been a busy day. Let's finish quickly and go back to rest. Okay. Raoul and Giant, along with the other Saiyans responsible for logistics, worked tirelessly all afternoon, only getting a proper rest near evening. In the break room, Raoul looked at Giant, who was sitting and resting beside him. The petite Giant had a blush on her face. The sudden increase in Saiyans had put immense pressure on their logistics department. Raoul, who used to have plenty of rest time in the logistics department, considered working 6 hours a day a busy schedule, and spent most of his time resting. Today, however, he had been working non-stop all afternoon since returning. Aunt Giant, I have a favor to ask you, Raoul suddenly said. Jin smiled and replied, "What is it? Tell me, as long as I can help. However, my combat power is very low. If it's something related to combat, I can't help you." "No, no need for combat," Roar waved his hand and said, "I just want to live with Aunt Jin." Ah! The petite Jin's eyes widened, her mouth agape, speechless, a blush creeping onto her face. After a while, she stammered, "This. Raw, I'm already a mother of 2. If you want to pursue someone, you can pursue Asyana." "Oh, right, Roy came here recently too. She's single, isn't she beautiful?" "I'm not Cao." Ra was also dumbfounded, his mouth agape, a roar raging in his heart. After a moment's thought, he realized he might not have explained clearly, and quickly added, "It's like this, Aunt Jin, you see, I've been all alone since I was little, my parents died early, and seeing you Saiyans reunited makes me sad. You know, Aunt Jin, I've been working here since I was very young, and I only know a few of you. Uncle Bardock is coming back too, isn't he? I just want to feel the atmosphere of a family, and I hope you can grant my wish." "I see." Jin touched her still slightly hot cheeks with her fair little hand, realizing she had overthought things. Yes, this child had no relatives growing up, and it was inevitable that she would feel sad seeing families reunited. Jin thought for a moment and said, "Well then, there's a house next to mine. Its owner died in battle, and no new people have moved in yet. Why don't you stay there for now?" "Of course. Roll can come to my house for dinner anytime. I'm sure Bardock won't object." "Thank you so much, Aunt Jin." Roll smiled and thanked her. His main purpose was to frequently check on things and see if Bardock had returned. His original home was a bit far from Jin's, so a closer place would be better for easy monitoring. "There's nothing else to do now. Why don't you go and move your things to the house next door?" "I won't go, it'll probably get busy here again soon." Jin thought for a moment and said with a smile, "Come to my house for dinner tonight." She was gentle and compassionate, and therefore not suited for combat. That's why, with Bardock's help, she left the team and went to the logistics department. "Thank you, I'll go now." Roll nodded, left the room, and flew towards his home. As he flew past the entrance of a Saiyan restaurant, he saw a strangely shaped figure and stopped. "Huh? What's this?" It was a tall alien with blue-green skin, long white curly hair, purple pupils and lips, and a large, light blue halo around his neck. In his right hand, he held a long staff topped with a black crystal ball. He wore a light blue belt and black armor with 3 diamond patterns, and his robes and stockings were deep red. This distinctive attire and halo made Raul instantly recognize him, and he was greatly shocked. "An angel, this?" Chapter 56 The Gluttonous Weiss. "Lord Beerus, really, he's asleep again. I wonder if he'll sleep for decades or centuries this time?" "Never mind that, before he went to sleep he gave Frieza the order to destroy Vegeta, so I have to keep an eye on Planet Vegeta. But, I can take this opportunity to eat some good food." Whis smiled slightly. As an angel beside the god of destruction, he possessed incredible abilities. Through the black crystal ball on his staff, he could see everything in the universe. However, he specifically came to check on Planet Vegeta so he could eat its delicacies. After all, if he didn't eat now, he wouldn't be able to see Planet Vegeta again next time. Let's go for a walk and see what else is good to eat." Whis walked slowly down the street with a faint smile. His pace seemed slow, but in the blink of an eye he had covered a great distance. Angel Whis, what's he doing here? Raul felt uneasy, a sense of awe for a higher life form. Keep in mind, he was just a mere Saiyan, not even at the Super Saiyan level yet. But even Super Saiyans, even the Super Saiyan God, were no match for this great god. Even Beerus, the god of destruction whom Law had always feared and revered, the strongest god of destruction in Universe 7, was no match for Whis. As everyone knows, Whis was Beerus's servant and martial arts instructor. He was one of the Grand Priest's sons, and as an angel in the divine realm, his true strength far surpassed that of a god of destruction. He was the undisputed strongest being, the strongest angel. It was only because angels maintained a neutral stance that Law generally didn't consider him an opponent, which allowed Beerus to act so recklessly. Law knew that Goku's strongest form would later be Ultra Instinct, but this was merely the angel's normal state. Law stared intently at Whis. He could see clearly that the streets were teeming with Saiyans, yet not a single one touched even a corner of Whis's clothing. This wasn't Wiss's deliberate act, he was simply in a state of constant ultra instinct, making him virtually untouchable, let alone capable of fighting him. Huh? Where did he go? Rawl's eyes had been fixed on Wiss, but he noticed Wiss had suddenly vanished. Little kid, what are you looking at? You seem to have been staring at me the whole time. Do you know me? Wiss's voice suddenly rang out, startling Rawl. He turned to see Wiss standing beside him, slightly bowing, smiling as he scrutinized him. Holy crap, a ghost. Rawl blurted out, trembling, but quickly covered his mouth. I'm not a ghost, I'm an angel, Wiss said with a smile, looking at the Saiyan with interest. Rawl breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that Wiss had only smiled and hadn't reacted in any particular way. Thank goodness it was Wiss. He was an angel, usually easygoing and kind, and wouldn't kill anyone. If it were Beerus, the god of destruction, a few simple words from Law, if he accidentally displeased Beerus, would likely result in his destruction. While Law was intensely contemplating how to deal with the angel Wiss was also watching him. This Saiyan seemed to be the strongest Saiyan on Planet Vegeta. Although still insignificant to Law, he had piqued Wiss's interest. Law was unaware that Wiss had seen through his concealed aura since landing on Planet Vegeta. Too bad, about to die. Wiss was an angel. When Lord Beerus gave an order, he wouldn't object, even if he had other thoughts. Well, let's go find some food. Before Planet Vegeta explodes, let's eat as much good food as possible. Wiss stared for a while and then stopped looking. Such a tiny life, even if it didn't die today, compared to immortal beings like him and Beerus, it would probably die of old age after a few naps. As Roll watched Wiss straighten up, about to leave, he was momentarily at a loss. He didn't want Wiss to leave. If he could get even a single pointer from him, it would be invaluable. Mr. Wiss, don't go. My house has delicious food. Roll called out suddenly as Wiss walked further away. Oh, you know who I am? Wiss's voice suddenly rang out beside Roll, standing right next to him. Roll was prepared, but still startled. He hadn't even blinked, staring intently at Wiss, yet hadn't noticed him disappear without a trace. It wasn't teleportation, but to Roll, it was even more terrifying. Yes, Mr. Wiss, I just happened to overhear the legend of you and Beerus, the god of destruction, Roll replied immediately with a smile. Oh, is that so? Never mind, I'm not interested in where you heard it. You said there's delicious food, is that true? Wiss's eyes lit up. Not only did Beerus love food, but Wiss also adored all kinds of delicacies. Of course. Roll was thrilled to see Wiss's interest. He wasn't lying, he carried various panaceas he'd bought from Earth, including all sorts of delicious food. Alright, take me there quickly. I've tried most of the food on this planet, and it's all pretty much just so-so, Weiss urged with a smile. Food was simply the best thing in the world. I certainly won't disappoint Mr. Weiss, Raoul said with a smile. However, I need to move. Could Mr. Weiss wait for me a little while? No problem. For the sake of the food, I'll wait a bit, Weiss nodded with a smile. Anyway, Lord Beerus was still sleeping, and the planet hadn't reached its end yet, so it didn't matter how long he stayed. Alright, I'll be right back, Raoul nodded excitedly, quickly soaring into the sky, rushing home to retrieve useful items, and swiftly taking them to Aunt Gine's house next door. Weiss seemed to follow Raoul at a leisurely pace, yet he easily kept up with Raoul's incredibly fast speed, which Raoul considered perfectly normal. Just kidding, this is the Angel Wiss. Even if Roll becomes a Super Saiyan from Saiyan Legend, or even a more powerful Super Saiyan God, as long as Wiss doesn't hold back, Roll still won't be able to touch a single hem of Wiss's clothes. Alright, Mr. Wiss, I'm sorry to have kept you waiting. Roll wiped the sweat from his face. It wasn't from exhaustion, this little movement couldn't possibly tire him out. He was just too nervous. Roll, you're done so quickly. Oh, is this your friend, Roll? Come to my house for dinner. Jine finished her work and flew back to her doorstep. Seeing Roll and Wiss next door, she smiled and invited them to her home. For the first time, Roll didn't answer Aunt Jine's question, only looking at Wiss. This matter still depended on Mr. Wiss's approval. Weiss smiled nonchalantly and said casually, Alright, let's all eat together. Phew. Roll let out a long sigh, smiled at Jine, and called out, Okay, Aunt Jine, we're coming right now. I brought lots of delicious food. Delicious food? Weiss's eyes lit up when he heard Roll's words, unable to resist the urge to taste the food. Chapter 57 Weiss's Guidance. Roll, what's this? Mr. Weiss, this is braised fish, it's delicious. And this? This is sushi. Delicious. And this? This is a giant bing, Chinese crepe. Oh, what an interesting name, and it's delicious too. Roll took out a sumptuous meal from the capsule and placed it on the table. One by one, Earth delicacies were laid out on the Saiyans' table. Weiss asked questions while eating a large amount of food, enjoying his meal immensely. Of course, this seemingly large amount of food was only a small part of what Roll had prepared. Otherwise, if he brought it all out at once, how could he attract Weiss in the future? Roll, where did you get this food? It's so delicious, and I've never seen anything like it before, Jine said with a smile. She had never eaten such a sumptuous meal either, with its perfect color, aroma, and taste. Roll smiled. Of course, while Saiyans could eat a lot, there weren't any Saiyans skilled in cooking. The Saiyans, who were passionate about battle, could only say that the color, aroma, and taste of their food were just average. Earth is different. The humans, who love to enjoy life, have created extraordinary cuisine. This is only a small part of what Raoul is familiar with. There are many Earth dishes that Raoul himself has never even tasted. Mr. Weiss, I feel my progress has slowed down. My combat power isn't increasing as rapidly as before. Could you give me some pointers? Raoul asked Weiss nervously as he and the others ate their sumptuous dinner, seeing that the food on the table was almost gone. Weiss glanced at him and suddenly smiled. If you have more delicious food, then I'm fine. Okay, Mr. Weiss, I have plenty of good food. Raoul said excitedly. He had brought a lot of food with him because Saiyans have huge appetites, while their own food is quite ordinary. Earth's food is much tastier than the food on Planet Vegeta, so Raoul bought a lot of food on Earth and carried it with him in his capsules. Oh. Weiss's eyes lit up, and he smiled, saying, okay, come with me. Alright. Raoul stood up excitedly and looked at Jine, and Jine, I'll leave this place to you. I'm going to train. No problem, the food you brought today is delicious. Jine smiled gently, thinking that if Bardock and Raditz were here, they could also enjoy such delicious food. Thank you. Raoul said, and immediately followed Weiss out of the room, arriving at a vast, deserted area outside, a place with jagged rocks. He used to train in deserted places in the wild, and he knew very well where there were many people and few people, and which places were basically deserted. It should be difficult to encounter anyone here, so no one would disturb his and Weiss's training. Alright, go ahead and attack. Don't be afraid of hurting me. Let me see your true strength. Weiss descended from the sky, landing on a boulder, standing casually, and said to Raoul. Alright. Raoul nodded slightly in agreement. How could Weiss be harmed by a weakling with a power level of less than 100,000? Boom. Raoul instantly unleashed a powerful aura, releasing his strongest power without hesitation. This overwhelming power, enough to shock all Saiyans, only caused Weiss's clothes to flutter in the wind. Weiss himself remained unfazed. Whoosh! Raoul instantly charged towards Weiss, his speed astonishing. He threw a punch, but Weiss seemed to be admiring the scenery of Planet Vegeta. He shifted his body slightly, rendering Raoul's attack ineffective. Having missed his first strike, Raoul immediately launched a barrage of attacks, punch after punch, raining down on Weiss like a storm. Any one of these attacks would instantly kill any Saiyan, yet they couldn't land a single blow on Weiss. Weiss remained expressionless, even sporting a slight smile. Raoul grew impatient, increasing the speed and power of his attacks, but he still couldn't land a hit on Weiss. No matter how strong or fast the attack, it's meaningless if you can't hit your opponent. Mr. Raoul, your techniques are indeed much more powerful than your compatriots, but your mind isn't calm. In combat, thinking about a move and then transferring it to your fists and feet takes a long time. If you're thinking about other things, you'll become even more sluggish. Yes, Mr. Weiss. Raoul responded loudly, showing no signs of discouragement, but rather radiating energy and spirit. He already knew that even if he were 100 times stronger, he couldn't touch Weiss, but the reason he went to great lengths to have Weiss train with him was precisely for these casual words of guidance from Weiss, hoping to save him from many detours. Mr. Raoul, you're starting to daydream again. Weiss reminded him with a smile. Yes, Mr. Weiss. Raoul took a deep breath, focused his mind, and continued his relentless attack on Weiss. Mr. Raoul, you ordinary people all think before you act, which wastes a lot of energy and makes your movement sluggish. The best state is when every part of your body can react without even thinking. Of course, that's too difficult for you. No one in this universe has truly achieved that. So, your most important thing now is to make your movements as concise and clear as possible, avoiding unnecessary movements and wasting your energy. While leisurely dodging Roll's attacks, Weiss instructed Roll on his movements and stances. Time always flies when you're focused on training. The sky was already getting dark, making it difficult to see the surrounding scenery. Roll was finding it difficult to see with his eyes alone, so he tried to use the aura sensing he had learned on Earth. But suddenly he discovered that Weiss had no aura. Weiss was an angel. Ordinary people couldn't sense divine aura at all, let alone an angel. This situation made Roll feel blind for the first time. Alright, Mr. Roll, it's time to stop. Your body won't be able to handle any more training. Weiss stopped moving and said with a smile, besides, shouldn't we have some midnight snack? Roll leaned against a huge rock for support, sweat pouring down his body, panting heavily. Hearing Weiss's words, he couldn't answer for a moment. Weiss wasn't in a hurry, just stood there smiling and waiting quietly. After a while, Roll finally regained some strength and said, "Of course, Mr. Weiss, let's go back for midnight snack. Is it good? Don't worry, I'll definitely make Mr. Weiss satisfied." Roll took off, having exhausted a lot of energy, and could only fly slowly towards his house, while Weiss flew leisurely beside him. Roll returned to his new house, took a shower, and then took out some snacks and handed them to Weiss. Weiss looked at the bag in surprise. There seemed to be something inside. Intrigued, he asked, "What's this?" "These are potato chips. You can eat them as soon as you open them," Roll explained, introducing each item to Weiss, pointing to the table. "And this is cola, this is instant noodles, and this. Delicious. It's flavorful." Chapter 58 Bardock returns. Raoul had initially thought that after leaving Earth, he would quietly await the implementation of his plan on Planet Vegeta, without encountering any unusual events. However, he never expected things to go awry. Having received a distress signal and rescued the former captain and his group who were nearly killed, he returned to Planet Vegeta and then encountered the Angel Whis. Adhering to the principle of learning as much as possible, Raoul immediately lured Whis with various delicious foods, persuading him to stay temporarily and begin training him. The result was that he seemed to have no free time again, constantly training after breakfast, training after lunch, training again after dinner. Until it was completely dark and visibility was poor, Raoul would finally return to rest with Whis, exhausted, and take out some snacks for them as a midnight treat. For several days in a row, he spent his time in this high-intensity training, each time returning only after utterly exhausted. Although Law hadn't managed to land a single blow on Whis, his strength was steadily and rapidly improving. Good times always passed too quickly. While Law trained, more and more Saiyans gathered on Planet Vegeta. Almost 99% of them had returned. In outer space, a small, saucer-shaped spaceship was heading towards Planet Vegeta. Lord Bardock, we've arrived at Planet Vegeta." The pilot's voice came from beside him. Bardock slowly opened his eyes, ending his long period of hibernation. Finally here. This long hibernation has left me a little groggy." Bardock shook his head. Suddenly, through the transparent glass of the spaceship's cockpit, he spotted the unique saucer-shaped spaceship in the distance. That enormous saucer-shaped spaceship was more than 10 times larger than their small ones, awe-inspiring from afar. Every Saiyan could immediately recognize it as the specially designed spaceship of the Cosmic Emperor, Frieza, commander of his army. HMPH, Frieza. Bardock calmly gazed at the distant spaceship, his eyes cold. "That bastard Frieza, I don't know why he sent us Saiyans back, and he hasn't given us an explanation in all this time," the Saiyan pilot complained. "Hey, make sure to take the sniffer down, or we might get overheard," Bardock warned. "Oh, yes. The pilot quickly removed the sniffer, but dared not utter another word of disrespect towards Frieza, fearing that if overheard, his life would be in danger. "Lord Bardock, get ready, we're about to land." The spaceship slowly landed on the docking area of the spaceport. Bardock stepped out of the spaceship, casually glancing around. He saw a large number of Saiyans landing on the planet, but there was no joy in his eyes. "Lord Bardock. Lord Bardock, you're back too." Yes. Lord Bardock, it's been a long time. Has your fighting power increased again? Bardock left the spaceport at a leisurely pace. His fighting power had grown far beyond his status as a lower-class Saiyan, earning him the admiration of many Saiyans. Bardock glanced at the people greeting him, merely nodding slightly in response, while pondering Frieza's intentions. As he walked, Bardock suddenly stopped, his attention drawn to the conversation of three newly returned Saiyans. Why do you think King Frieza summoned all of us Saiyans? I don't know, maybe he wants to kill you. TCH, don't joke around, why would Frieza kill me? I think maybe he discovered some powerful planet that requires all of us Saiyans to fight together. What powerful planet that needs so many warriors? That's ridiculous. Speaking of which, in the past few months, there have been people from Frieza's army asking around among our Saiyan race about Super Saiyans and Super Saiyan God. Super Saiyan? Isn't that just a legend, something for kids? Why are they asking about that? Super Saiyan, the legendary one? Bardock's eyes lit up. The reason Frieza summoned them, which he had been racking his brains over, finally began to make sense. However, this guess only fueled his anxiety. Forget it, I'll go home first. I heard Goku has been born for a long time, and I haven't had a proper look at him yet. Bardock temporarily put aside those thoughts and continued walking into the distance. Jine should be at the food processing area, distributing food right now. Bardock walked towards Jine's workplace. He recognized many people along the way, and seeing more and more Saiyans gathering together only increased his anxiety. Yo, Bardock. Jine, who was distributing food, instantly spotted that familiar figure. Tall and strong, with a slender build, his skin was somewhat dark from years of fighting on an alien planet. He had a scar on his face, a wound he received from an enemy when he first joined the battle. Now, with Bardock's combat experience growing and his fighting power increasing, ranking among the top Saiyans in terms of combat strength, he was rarely injured. The scar didn't detract from his handsome appearance, instead, it became a badge of honor, making him appear even more resolute. Jine. Bardock smiled, a smile breaking from his long, cold demeanor after years of fighting on an alien planet. He slowly walked forward, and Jine put down her work, embracing Bardock. Bardock smiled gently, a rare sight, and hugged Jine tightly. He looked down at the petite Jine, whose head only reached his chest. The warmth and faint fragrance emanating from her body calmed him. Bardock, let's go home. You must see Kakarot, he looks more and more like you now, practically a carbon copy, Jine said with a smile. She greeted Zhou Weidong's men and, for the first time, left her post. Seeing that it was Lord Bardock who was returning with his wife Jine, the others dared not say anything. I'll leave you all in my care this time. Bardock and I will head back now, Jine said, waving her small, white hand with a smile. No problem. You've helped us a lot before. We'll take care of things here, don't worry. Yes, Jine, there aren't many people here today, we can handle it. Well, you and Lord Bardock should go back now. Okay, thank you. Jine smiled, turned, took Bardock's hand, and returned home. At Bardock and Jine's home, Jine led Bardock to the incubation pod, pointing to Kakarot inside with a happy smile. How is it, Bardock? Doesn't he look exactly like you? Yes. Bardock looked at Kakarot in the pod. Although very young, his appearance already bore an 80–90% resemblance to him. Bardock activated his detector, looked at the readings, and fell silent. Born with only 2 points of power, and even after so long in the incubation pod, his power level was still less than 10. By Saiyan standards, he would definitely be exiled. Moreover, Frieza's recent actions had given him a vague sense of unease. Bardock, say something. Why are you so silent after seeing your son Kakarot? Jine looked at Bardock, blinking. She felt Bardock was acting strangely today. Bardock was silent for a moment, then suddenly said something that shocked Jine. Jine, I'm going to steal a spaceship tonight and send this child to another planet. Bardock stared at his son Kakarot, his palm pressed against the incubation pod. Inside, Kakarot seemed to sense something and turned over uneasily. Chapter 59 Bardock's decision. Why are you sending Kakarot away? He's so young. I haven't even had a chance to teach him the basics of Saiyan life. Jine cried anxiously. She panicked when she heard Bardock was going to send her son Kakarot to another planet. Kakarot was so young, how could she, as his mother, not worry? With Kakarot's fighting strength, even if we don't send him away, he'll be exiled to another planet eventually, Bardock said in a low voice, casually picking up his probe. Besides, the atmosphere on Planet Vegeta has been strange lately. I have a feeling that Frieza might be planning something detrimental to us Saiyans. Perhaps, we Saiyans are about to undergo a huge change. Is that so? The petite giant looked worried, staring at her son in the incubation chamber, lost in thought. Don't worry, if my premonition is wrong, we'll secretly bring him back, Bardock comforted her. Well, alright then, Jine could only agree after hearing Bardock's suggestion. That's right, don't worry, Jine. This is for Kakarot's own good. This way, he can stay away from the vortex of potential upheaval and be safer, Bardock said with a smile. By the way, what about Raditz? Raditz? He's already an excellent warrior. He joined Prince Vegeta's team and is currently on a mission. Jine said with a smile. She was also very proud that her son Raditz could join Prince Vegeta's team, which meant that he was very outstanding. Is that so? Prince Vegeta? That guy isn't easy to deal with. Bardock frowned slightly. He had heard about Prince Vegeta from other Saiyans. Prince Vegeta was hailed as the Saiyan with the strongest fighting potential in Saiyan history. His fighting power was improving rapidly. It was said that he could now defeat Sabi with a fighting power of over 1,000. Moreover, he was ruthless, cold-blooded, and bloodthirsty. If Raditz offended Prince Vegeta, he would likely be taught a terrible lesson, or even lose his life. But, this is for the best, at least we're temporarily away from Planet Vegeta. Bardock thought to himself. Sending his youngest son, Kakarot, to another planet, and keeping his eldest son, Raditz, away from Planet Vegeta for the time being, made him feel much more at ease. By the way, Bardock, a new young man recently moved into our neighborhood. He's a very nice kid, Jine said with a smile. It's the Raul I told you about before. Bardock, do you remember him? Raul? Bardock frowned, thinking for a moment. Oh, the strange intermediate Saiyan kid you mentioned who suddenly stopped fighting and went to work in the logistics department? Yes, he's been coming to our house a lot lately, bringing lots of delicious food. Judging by the time, he should be back soon. Jine nodded. She had talked to Bardock about things around them before, and naturally, Raul was mentioned. Bardock nodded calmly. His current fighting power surpasses that of most Saiyans, even those at the intermediate or upper level. Therefore, he doesn't care whether a Saiyan is intermediate or lower level, and his attitude towards both won't change. However, the fact that an intermediate Saiyan could work in the logistics department initially surprised Bardock, making it stand out. Bardock's primary concern now is which planet to send Kakarot to, ideally one without strong enemies, technologically underdeveloped, but resource-rich. You rest well, I'll go check some information, Bardock said, walking out. With his superior fighting power, he easily gains respect and has high access, allowing him access to a wealth of information. Okay, Jine nodded, adding, don't forget to come back for dinner. I know, I'll be back soon. Bardock smiled at Jine, then rose into the air and flew into the distance. Planet Vegeta, a vast, uninhabited region, a corner. Breathing. Raul leaned against a rock, panting heavily. He looked at the composed Weiss beside him and praised, Mr. Weiss, you're amazing. Have I improved? A little. Weiss nodded with a smile, and suddenly the black crystal ball at the top of his scepter glowed. Weiss stared at the crystal ball for a long time, then looked up at Raul and said, well then, our training ends here. I have some things to do. Hearing Weiss say this, Raul felt a little regretful. During his training with Weiss, his strength had improved rapidly, so rapidly that Raul didn't dare use the detector to test it, because even a simple test of combat power might cause the detector to explode. However, happy days are always short-lived. Now, Weiss was leaving for some reason, and Raul couldn't stop him. Well, Mr. Weiss, thank you for your recent instruction. Until we meet again, Raul said with a smile. If I can continue training with you again next time, Mr. Weiss, would you be willing to continue? Weiss looked Raul over with interest and smiled, saying, if you survive, of course, you'll need some good food to continue training. No problem, Mr. Weiss, until we meet again. Raul nodded, smiling and waving at Weiss. Okay, goodbye. Weiss, holding his scepter, looked up at the sky, his entire body enveloped in intense light, so bright that Raul could only squint. Then, The light enveloping Whis, like a shooting star, shot directly into the sky, instantly piercing the atmosphere of Planet Vegeta and disappearing without a trace. Physical travel through the universe. Raoul exclaimed, watching Whis vanish. Frieza, as a special life form in the universe, could survive in space even without relying on a planet's environment. Whis, as an angel, was even more extraordinary, able to travel freely through the universe at an astonishing speed. In comparison, the Saiyans are somewhat backward. Even when they transform into Super Saiyans, capable of destroying planets at will, they cannot survive in the space environment. In this Dragon Ball world, only gods can survive in the vacuum outside of planets, while even the most powerful humans can only rely on the protection of the atmosphere. This is probably the chasm between gods and humans. Of course, Frieza's race is a special case, a race with a special mutation. It's incredible that they can survive outside of planets. Whis has left. Maybe Planet Vegeta is about to be destroyed too. Let's go back to Aunt Jine's house and check the situation. After resting for a while, Raoul took off and flew towards Jine's house. Upon arriving, he found Jine alone. Relieved, he casually asked, "Aunt Jine, hasn't Uncle Bardock returned yet?" "Oh, Bardock? He came back this afternoon. He's out researching some information and will be back soon. You must bring out some good food today. Bardock has never tasted your special dishes before, he'll definitely rave about them." By the way, Jine's rambling, everyday conversation filled Raoul's ears, but his heart was filled with mixed emotions. Bardock was back. Was the day of Planet Vegeta's destruction far off? Chapter 60 Exiled Life. "Bardock, you're back." Jine excitedly peeked through the door and saw Bardock descending from the sky. She ran over and hugged him. "Yet," Bardock replied with a smile, hugging Jine back. The two of them were practically showing off their affection in front of Raoul, who just looked at Bardock with curiosity. He looks about 80–90% like Goku, except he has scars on his face and is a bit darker, Raoul observed Bardock. He's definitely a battle-hardened warrior, you can feel a powerful aura emanating from him. Bardock released Jine. He felt the young man in front of him watching them, and he frowned slightly. Jine immediately introduced him. "Bardock, this is Raoul. What do you think? A great Saiyan, right?" Bardock nodded. Although he didn't have the ability to sense ki, his long battles had allowed him to sense the aura of his enemies, and this young man's aura was very oppressive. Bardock didn't offer much of a smile to the young man he had just met, merely nodding slightly in a silent greeting. Raoul also smiled and nodded. This man, the future father of Super Saiyan Goku, was indeed a very powerful warrior. "Mr. Bardock, I've often heard your stories." Raoul smiled mysteriously. What he had heard was different from the surface-level information known to other Saiyans. Bardock nodded lightly. Since he had continuously broken limits with his lower-level Saiyan potential, more and more Saiyans knew of him and admired him. He simply assumed this young man was just like everyone else, having heard his ordinary stories. Seeing the atmosphere becoming a bit too tense, Jine immediately smiled and said, "Bardock, you must try this." Raoul brought a lot of special delicacies. They're delicious. This is the first time I've ever tasted such special food. Raoul didn't hold back, pretending to go home to get food, but actually opening a capsule in his new home and taking out a large pile of Earth's specialty foods. Because he wasn't familiar with Raoul, Bardock didn't mention sending Kakarot away at the dinner table. Jine almost let it slip several times, but Bardock covered for her each time. After dinner, Raoul prepared to leave, stood up, greeted Jine and Bardock, and prepared to go. Bardock stood up, looked at Raoul, and casually praised, "This food is indeed delicious. Thank you for the compliment." Raoul nodded and went back. Actually, apart from Jine, both Raoul and Bardock were preoccupied with their own thoughts at the dinner table, unable to truly appreciate the food. Night. Bardock carried a spherical spacecraft stolen from the spaceport, with Jine beside him. Under the cover of darkness, the two secretly arrived in a deserted wilderness. "Bardock, are we really going to send Kakarot away? I'm still very worried about him." Jine stared at the spacecraft, which had already been forcibly placed inside. "Yes, Jine, I'm worried about Kakarot too, but I think we should get him out of here now," Bardock explained in a low voice, easily carrying the flying vehicle. "But, Bardock, why are you so sentimental? This doesn't seem like a cold-blooded Saiyan warrior," Jine suddenly said, sensing Bardock was slowly changing. Maybe it's because I've been fighting on other planets for too long, witnessing too much life and death, that's why I have gradually changed, Bardock smiled, looking at Jine. Or maybe it's because you're beside me, melting my cold heart. You? Why do you say that? A blush appeared on Jine's face, shy and adorable. Like a young girl experiencing her first love. Bardock looked at Jine, a slight smile playing on his lips. It was because he had been captivated by Jine's beauty and gentleness, so different from other Saiyans, long ago, that he had formed a family with her. After a while, they arrived at a secluded corner in the wilderness, far from the Saiyan settlement, where they were unlikely to be discovered. Bardock carefully lowered the spacecraft. Perhaps awakened by the commotion outside, Kakarot inside cried out. Wah! Hearing her son Kakarot's cries from inside the spacecraft, Jine's heart melted. Tears welled in her eyes as she pleaded, Bardock, didn't you say there might be danger? Why don't we go with Kakarot? Bardock shook his head. Looking at his crying child inside the spacecraft, though reluctant, he resolutely said for his safety, no, Jine. Kakarot's fighting power is weak, he won't be detected. But the two of us are different. With our combined strength, Frieza and his group will definitely find us. Then none of the three of us will escape. But... Jine's voice was low as she looked at Kakarot inside, filled with reluctance. Don't worry, Jine, Bardock comforted her. I've already chosen a planet for Kakarot. It's a remote planet called Earth. It's located in a secluded corner of the northern galaxy. No one will go there. The humans there are weak and technologically backward, they won't pose a threat to Kakarot. Jine nodded. She slowly walked to the spacecraft, placed her hand on the hatch glass, and looked at Kakarot inside. She whispered, Kakarot, son, wait for us. If your father Bardock is wrong, and we're alright, we'll come to get you soon. Then, our family can be reunited. Bardock hugged Jine and also placed his hand on the hatch glass, saying softly, Kakarot, you must live on. Goodbye, Kakarot. Jine gazed at her child. Goodbye. Bardock also stared at his son. Kakarot opened his innocent eyes, looking at his parents with confusion, and imitated them, placing his hand on the hatch glass as well. For a fleeting moment, their hands seemed to press tightly together. The pre-programmed sequence activated, and the spaceship began to float slowly. Bardock pulled Jine back a few steps. As the spaceship ascended, its speed increased until it broke through the atmosphere, heading towards the distant planet, Earth. Kakarot. Jine, looking at her child whom she might never see again, trembled slightly and let out soft sobs. Bardock, seeing this, embraced Jine, holding her and comforting her. The two gazed longingly in the direction their son Kakarot had left, reluctant to part, unable to look away for a long time before finally leaving. After they left, Raoul, who had followed them all the way here and witnessed everything, emerged from behind the boulder. He looked up at the sky, speechless for a long time, finally sighing, and quietly departed. Chapter 61 The Dragon Appears. Planet Vegeta. Recently, the atmosphere on Planet Vegeta has been strange and unpredictable, gradually becoming somewhat oppressive. Even the most ignorant Saiyan sensed something unusual. First, there was the disappearance of special personnel. Their Saiyan Supreme Ruler, King Vegeta, was no longer in the palace. Even after searching the entire land, no trace of him could be found. Several very famous mid-level warriors also vanished like King Vegeta. Then, a Saiyan team that was fighting abroad failed to return immediately as Frieza had demanded, and was thus wiped out by Frieza's men. Before dying, they deliberately sent a message through the communication function of their snipers, which many Saiyans heard, Frieza, kill, plot. Seemingly due to some unknown interference, only these words were ultimately transmitted. The many Saiyans on Planet Vegeta were bewildered. Some astute Saiyans pondered the meaning of these words. Most thought it was just the ramblings of those who failed to return on time, the last words of their predicament before being eliminated by Frieza. Some Saiyans, however, felt it couldn't be that simple. Many Saiyans had been killed by Frieza for failing to complete their missions on time, but how could the word conspiracy be explained? Regardless, the atmosphere on Planet Vegeta began to change. The initial festive atmosphere grew increasingly oppressive, like the calm before a storm. In an ordinary Saiyan house, Raoul stood by the window, observing the slightly oppressive atmosphere around him. He went into the bedroom, closed the door, and prepared to make a communication. I can't wait any longer. It's almost time. Bardock has sent his son Kakarot to Earth, and the Saiyans are almost 100% gathered. If I wait any longer, I might be in danger. Raul's face was grave. He activated a detector modified by Dr. Brief. Only this kind of detector could avoid detection by Frieza and his group. Hello, Asyana, can you hear me? Far away on the distant planet Earth, Asyana was undergoing meditation training in a wilderness, honing her key control, when she suddenly heard the new detector beeping. Asyana immediately stopped training and went over to pick up the detector. Hey, Raul, it's been a while since I heard your voice. What? Busy training with someone else? Whis? Who's that? Yes, the Dragon Balls have always been right next to us, of course, there have always been 7, don't worry. What? Has it gotten to this point already? Asyana frowned, her face troubled. According to Raul, King Vegeta was likely killed while fighting Frieza, and Frieza was about to attack the Saiyans of Planet Vegeta. Okay, I'll summon Shenron right away. Asyana was already very familiar with the incantation Raul had given her for summoning Shenron, she understood it completely. She slowly walked to the bag she always carried with her, which contained the 7 magical Dragon Balls. Opening the bag, Asyana slowly poured the 7 Dragon Balls onto the ground. The 7 Dragon Balls, placed together, shone brightly, flashing rhythmically as if breathing, or perhaps eagerly awaiting their summons. Asyana looked down at the Dragon Balls, taking a deep breath, a little nervous. This was her first time using these magical Dragon Balls. Come forth, Shenron. Grant my wish. Asyana roared, and the Dragon Ball's flashing frequency suddenly increased, their light growing brighter. This is... Asyana looked up in surprise. Suddenly, a thick, dark cloud rose in the sky, obscuring the heavens, covering the earth as far as the eye could see. The sky turned dark? Raul didn't say it would turn like this. Asyana was a little nervous. She continued to observe the changes in the Dragon Balls. Suddenly, a golden light, like a winding serpent, shot from the 7 flashing Dragon Balls into the sky. A crackling sound accompanied by a loud bolt of lightning and a distinctive dragon roar echoed. Asyana's eyes widened as she stared at the enormous dragon before her, its scales green and its body twisting and turning, its pupils blood red. This is the Shenlong that Rail has been talking about. Asyana was stunned. This tiny Earth always brought her surprises. Although its combat power wasn't strong, it had many wondrous items. She wondered where Rail had gotten the information that Earth had so many Pokemon. Tell me your wish, and I will grant it, no matter what it is. But there is only one wish, the dragon roared, its deep, rumbling sound like thunder. Oh. Asyana quickly recovered from her shock and used the scouter to ask, Roll, I've summoned Shenron, what should I do now? I've been listening. Okay, wish for the Dragon Balls to transfer the Saiyans on Planet Vegeta to that uninhabited continent at 115 degree E, 143 degree S on Earth. Okay, I understand. Eliminate the Saiyans who respect and support Frieza. Okay, that's obvious, those Saiyans are traitors. And the bloodthirsty, inhuman Saiyans should also be eliminated? Roll, are you sure? This might eliminate most of the Saiyans. You're a Saiyan yourself, you know we Saiyans are inherently warlike and bloodthirsty. Is this really necessary? The chances of completely bloodthirsty and inhuman Saiyans becoming Super Saiyans are very low. What does that mean? Okay, you've convinced me, I'll do as you say. Asyana shook her head and sighed. This meant most of their Saiyan population would likely die, she wondered how many would survive. Then she thought of herself, and seemed to become somewhat sentimental, perhaps influenced by Raul, this Saiyan who was so different from others. Say your wish. Don't you have a wish? Shenron circled in the air, asking. Yes, of course I do, Shenron. My wish is. Asyana hurriedly shouted out the wish she had just discussed with Raul. Meanwhile, on Planet Vegeta, Raul, in the wilderness, nodded upon hearing Asyan's wish. He didn't need Saiyans whose minds were only filled with killing, gratitude, and thoughtlessness. Those Saiyans should be lost to the annals of history. Next is to destroy Planet Vegeta. What technique should I use? Kamehameha? Crescent Slash? Death Beam? Raul considered those techniques, then rejected them one by one, finally settling on one, the planet-piercing bullet. Raul initially wanted to try the Planet Destruction Bomb, the technique Frieza originally intended to use to destroy Planet Vegeta. It could directly destroy everything on the planet with immense energy, ultimately causing a massive explosion. However, this technique's destructive speed was too fast, hindering the Dragon Ball's wishes from taking effect. Moving so many at once would likely take Shenron considerable time. The planet-piercing bomb, on the other hand, was a technique Frieza and Super Saiyan Goku used on Namek. It destroyed the planet's core and would take about 5 minutes for the planet to explode, giving Shenron ample time for his wishes to take effect. I must kill all the Saiyans and cause Planet Vegeta to explode right under Frieza's nose. Only then can I truly escape death and rise from the ashes. Raul thought, stretching out his hands and gathering destructive power. Initially the size of a regular baseball, the energy gradually swelled to the size of a basketball as it compressed, solidifying into a dark red ball of destructive energy. Raul ascended into the air, looking down upon the land of Planet Vegeta, roaring in his heart, "Destroy, Planet Vegeta! Only when you are destroyed will the old generation of Saiyans truly die, and the new generation of Saiyans begin a new life." Whoosh! Raul hurled an energy blast that pierced the planet, tearing through the earth and heading towards the center of Planet Vegeta. Boom! Suddenly, all the Saiyans on Planet Vegeta felt a peculiar tremor. This violent tremor affected all the Saiyans. They watched in horror as the surrounding buildings shook violently, and the earth slowly cracked open. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 62 5 Minutes Between Life and Death. As Lore released his energy, concentrating it into a planet-piercing bullet, this powerful energy attracted the attention of Frieza's ship above Planet Vegeta. Warning! Warning! Powerful energy detected. Warning! Warning! What happened now? Frieza stormed into the command center, his anger palpable. Reporting, Your Majesty, a particularly powerful energy was detected on Planet Vegeta, then suddenly vanished, the soldiers immediately reported. Powerful energy, what's its combat power? Frieza's eyes lit up with interest. A high-energy body on Planet Vegeta, could those Saiyan monkeys be up to something again? Reporting, Your Majesty, the individual soldier's detector failed to detect it and exploded. We used the ship's special combat power detector, and the combat energy reached a maximum of 500,000. The soldiers present broke out in a cold sweat. 500,000 combat power, what kind of monster was that? 500,000. Frieza's eyes widened. Even the Saiyans with the highest fighting power, in their great ape form with a tenfold increase, couldn't possibly reach 500,000. That meant their fighting power was roughly equal to his in his normal state. However, this didn't frighten him. A mere 500,000 fighting power could be easily dealt with in his next form. Something strange. Frieza frowned and pondered for a moment before ordering, send all combat personnel on the ship, except for Dodoria and Zarbon, to Planet Vegeta. Kill them all. Kill all those Saiyans. Force out the one with the strongest fighting power, and kill them all. Sensing the chilling, almost insane killing intent in Frieza's words, the soldiers dared not refuse, not even daring to offer a single opinion. They immediately replied, Yes, Your Majesty, notify them immediately. The massive, saucer-shaped spaceship slowly approached the atmosphere of Planet Vegeta, then opened its hatch. A stream of figures poured out, densely packed, rushing towards the land of Planet Vegeta. Die, you bunch of trash monkeys. Frieza's cold gaze fixed on Planet Vegeta. However, the high-energy aura he just witnessed surprised him. It seemed his decision to eliminate the Saiyans prematurely was correct. Letting them continue fighting might just create many powerful warriors. HMPH, Super Saiyan, just a legendary tale. Explosions, sounds of slaughter, and roars filled the air. Bardock listened to the sounds of battle outside. From the sudden earthquake, many powerful warriors had descended from the sky, killing every Saiyan on the planet. Jine, stay home and don't go out. Bardock said, about to go out and fight. He absolutely refused to surrender and hide in this corner. Bardock. Jine grabbed Bardock, her eyes filled with worry. She feared Bardock might never return. At the same time, she was also relieved that her two sons were safe. Her eldest son was still fighting outside and hadn't returned, while her younger son had escaped Planet Vegeta and successfully fled. Don't worry, Bardock comforted her, gently patting Jine's hand that was holding his. I'll protect you, and I'll be back soon. Jine reluctantly released Bardock's hand. Having just experienced the pain of losing her son, she was now forced to watch Bardock go into that life-or-death battle, her heart filled with mixed emotions. Before leaving, Bardock stopped, walked back, and hugged his wife Jine one last time, savoring her warmth and fragrance, and murmured, "Don't worry, I'll definitely come back. I still need to take you to find Kakarot." As soon as he finished speaking, Bardock released Jine and rushed towards the battlefield without looking back. He feared that if he turned back, he would be unable to resist staying there with Jine, losing his will to fight. However, someone had to step forward. If all Saiyans avoided this battle, then they would become lambs to the slaughter. Bardock. Jine sobbed softly, gazing longingly at Bardock's departing figure. Bardock, having just left home, rushed out to witness this horrific scene. These warriors, descending from the sky and clad in Frieza's army's standard battle suits, were solely focused on destruction. They indiscriminately unleashed ki blasts and energy projectiles, blasting houses and killing every Saiyan they could see. Saiyans, being a warrior race, naturally wouldn't passively await their slaughter. Many Saiyans charged forward to fight them. However, these were warriors specially prepared by Frieza for the Saiyans. Ordinary, lower-ranking Saiyans would be slaughtered, only the strongest among the lower-ranking Saiyans could resist, and only mid-ranking Saiyans could gain the upper hand. Frieza, that bastard, I will never forgive him. Bardock clenched his fists, roared, and charged towards the nearest Frieza's army warrior. Kill. A ki blast instantly incinerated a Frieza army soldier, followed by another ki blast into the largest group of Frieza's soldiers, killing 5 or 6 instantly. With Bardock's strength, killing these soldiers was like a wolf among sheep. He easily slaughtered one Frieza soldier after another. The surrounding Saiyans, seeing Bardock charge out and instantly kill so many Frieza soldiers, were greatly encouraged. Good, kill them. Lord Bardock is here. Charge. Kill, kill, kill. In an instant, the crowd surged with excitement, and more Saiyans joined the battle. However, these warriors, seemingly from nowhere, were all incredibly powerful, and even with their valiant resistance, the Saiyans could only be killed one by one. Damn it. Bardock took a deep breath, killing a warrior who approached him, but he was powerless to stop the Saiyans from falling one after another. Bardock, how is it? Jine, who was on holiday, dared not go out. She knew that with her current fighting ability, going out would only be suicide and cause Bardock trouble. Suddenly, a light emanated from her body, causing Jine to jump up and stare in astonishment at her transformation. Then the light intensified, and after a while, it dissipated, and Jine had vanished from the house, leaving no trace. Damn it. At this rate, we'll never finish killing them all. When will this end? Bardock gritted his teeth in anger. After the continuous fighting, his stamina was mostly depleted. That bastard Frieza. If we can destroy Frieza, then all of this will be over. Bardock looked up. That location must be where Frieza's ship was. He immediately flew towards Frieza's ship, wanting to defeat Frieza, rescue Jine, and save his Saiyan brethren. The soldiers of Frieza's army around him saw Bardock, the Saiyan, trying to escape and immediately rushed to stop him. Don't even think about running, Saiyan. Haha, Saiyans, you're all dead. Where do you think you're going? Die, Saiyan. Soldiers of Frieza's army charged towards Bardock. Their detectors indicated that this Saiyan was the strongest in the vicinity, killing him would make their mission much easier. In the massive saucer-shaped spaceship, Frieza saw a Saiyan rushing towards him. His gaze was icy as he slowly said, "Open the hatch. I need to get out." "Your Majesty, but outside." A soldier tried to remind Frieza that there were still many soldiers of his army on Planet Vegeta, but he was intimidated by Frieza's single glance. "Yes, Your Majesty, open the hatch immediately." Frieza, sitting in his specially designed personal flying vehicle, slowly emerged from the hatch and immediately saw the battered Saiyan, whose sturdy battle suit was torn. "Frieza, die? Only when you die will we Saiyans be truly free." Bardock gathered all his energy, unleashing the strongest energy wave he could muster in his current state. Frieza merely chuckled and extended a finger. From Frieza's finger, a tiny energy ball instantly expanded to the size of a giant spaceship. This massive energy blast, like a miniature sun, radiated unparalleled energy fluctuations and hurtled towards Bardock, and towards the soon-to-be-destroyed planet Vegeta. Ha! Bardock roared, his energy wave colliding with the energy blast. To Bardock's surprise, the powerful energy blast, with unstoppable force, easily crushed his energy wave, slowly descending towards him. Behind him lay Planet Vegeta, the home of countless Saiyans. What? Bardock's eyes widened. He realized then that he was wrong, terribly wrong. Frieza's fighting power was unimaginably high, a level beyond the reach of Saiyans. It's over. Jine, Kakarot, Raditz, and all of us Saiyans are finished. Bardock was in despair. He watched the massive energy blast relentlessly descend, and just as he was resigned to his fate, he heard a desperate shout. Kamehameha, charge! A thick beam of energy, carrying immense force, shot past him and struck Frieza's energy blast. To Bardock's astonishment, the seemingly unstoppable energy blast halted its descent. Chapter 63 The Destruction of Planet Vegeta. Impossible. Impossible. Someone actually managed to block my attack. Frieza, high in the sky, stared wide-eyed at the scene in shock. He was already surprised that a wounded Saiyan could break through the Legion's defenses and reach him. But what shocked him even more was what followed. A Saiyan who seemed to have appeared out of nowhere had actually blocked his planet-destroying energy blast. Boom. Just as Raul was using a Kamehameha to barely withstand the energy blast, the collision of their powerful energies unleashed an unprecedentedly massive storm that swept outwards from the explosion's epicenter. Huh? Bardock stared incredulously at the incredible figure before him. Wasn't this the young man with all the delicious food that Jine had introduced him to a few days ago? An energy blast he couldn't withstand had been blocked in an instant. It completely shattered Bardock's worldview. At that moment, two powerful energies exploded. In the instant of the explosion, Bardock felt a howling wind that made it difficult for even this elite Saiyan warrior to maintain flight. He could only stretch out his arms to struggle against the aftershocks. That's Frieza? Raul gasped, staring at the figure sitting on a special flying vehicle not far ahead. Strong and muscular, rather short, with his arms casually crossed over his chest, blood-red eyes, purplish-black lips, and two lines resembling blood tears below his eyes. His body was covered in a gleaming purple shell, and a lizard-like tail throbbed behind him. HMPH, Saiyan, where did you come from? As far as I know, there shouldn't be a Saiyan as powerful as you. Frieza's eyes gleamed as he slowly rose from his flying vehicle, hovering beside it. None of your business, Frieza. You will definitely die at the hands of a Saiyan someday. That's my prophecy for you. Raul gazed at Frieza in the distance and spoke slowly. Heh. Frieza let out a strange laugh, then coldly looked at Law and Bardock. You Saiyans? Don't think you can be so smug and spout nonsense just because you blocked one of my attacks. All of you Saiyans will die today, in the fireworks of Planet Vegeta's explosion. Die? Frieza slowly extended his finger, pointing it at Law. He intended to use the death beam to pierce Law's heart and kill this arrogant Saiyan on the spot. Then, to Frieza's surprise, the Saiyan in front of him also extended his finger, pointing it at him. What does this mean? Frieza didn't understand, but he still immediately used the death beam, a red energy beam shooting towards Law. Law's lips curled up slightly, and he also shot a red beam towards Frieza. The two death beams collided directly in midair, emitting a blinding light like welding, and then both red beams disappeared. Raul breathed a slight sigh of relief, looking at Frieza defiantly. Frieza, recalling everything that had just happened, roared, "Impossible. How do you, a Saiyan, know my techniques?" How? Raul merely sneered, offering no reply. If you won't answer, then die. Frieza roared, extending a finger upwards. A ball of light, the size of an infant's fist, suddenly expanded into a massive energy blast capable of destroying planets. Not good. Raul watched nervously as Frieza unleashed the death energy blast. That Kamehameha wave had already been his full power, consuming a great deal of stamina. For Frieza, however, his power was inexhaustible, allowing him to easily unleash one planet-destroying energy blast after another. This was the current difference between Raul and Frieza. At full power, he could only withstand one casually fired energy blast from Frieza, and that was in Frieza's normal form. Once Frieza transformed, even Raul wouldn't be able to withstand a single attack. I'll fight. Raul gritted his teeth, gathering all the energy in his body. He formed his hands into calyx shape, placed them at his waist, and conjured a ball of light in his palms. Then, he charged towards Frieza's energy blast. A blue-white ball of light, with a comet-like tail, was the classic Dragon Ball technique, the Kamehameha. Boom. The two energy waves collided again in midair, but didn't explode, remaining locked in a stalemate. Hold on! Raoul roared, increasing his energy output. The energy blast was propelled back by Raoul's Kamehameha, crushing towards Frieza. What? It was pushed back. Bardock, covered in wounds, witnessed this and felt victory was in sight. Not enough? Then I'll give you another one. Frieza roared in exasperation, casually conjuring another planet-destroying energy blast and charging down. The destructive energy blast that Raoul had painstakingly pushed back was now pushed back again. The heavy feeling told Raoul that this time, it was truly hopeless. Why aren't they leaving? Where are the Dragon Balls? Help! Raoul panicked, roaring inwardly. Just then, he saw Bardock beside him suddenly vanish in a flash of light. Raoul was stunned. He knew Bardock had been teleported back, but what about him? Why hadn't he been teleported yet? Raoul summoned the last bit of power in his body, slightly weakening the downward momentum of Frieza's energy blast, but that was all. Frieza's destructive energy blast continued its slow, steady downward trajectory. Damn it, I was too careless. Raoul thought to himself, utterly lost and unsure what to do. What should I do? What should I do? I can't die. I can't die here. Raoul roared inwardly. Suddenly, he thought of Asyana on Earth, of the group of Roy and his friends whom he had recently rescued, of Bardock the hero who had rushed towards Frieza without hesitation, and of the many Saiyans' gazes. Finally, he remembered Whis' words. Mr. Raoul, you still have immense power hidden within you, but it seems you haven't trained your body properly to unleash it. Perhaps only in a life or death situation can you truly unleash your potential. Strive to survive, Mr. Raoul, or you won't get to eat delicious food. The ultimate will to survive, in this life or death moment, finally triggered the potential within Raoul's body, unleashing its full power. Explode! 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 Raoul roared, his entire body radiating golden flames, a surging, boiling power erupting, making him seem to glow. If Raoul could see himself now, he would be astonished. His appearance, his aura, resembled the golden flames of a Super Saiyan, only his hair remained black, making it clear he wasn't a true Super Saiyan. What? He withstood both of my attacks. Frieza's eyes widened as the powerful energy blast that had withstood two of his destructive energy blasts retaliated against him. How is this possible? Frieza roared, unleashing two energy blasts in a powerful Kamehameha, which slammed into his body. In an instant, Frieza's personal spaceship was shattered, and the massive ship was thrown away by the blast wave, leaving only Frieza's roar. Raoul felt himself filled with rage and agitation, struggling even to maintain his composure. As the aftershocks of the explosion subsided, Frieza appeared before Raoul, his furious roar jolting him from his dazed state and unstable emotions. As expected, he's alright. Frieza was hit by two different powerful energies, his skin is only a little dirty. Looking at the Saiyan's oiled body, Frieza roared angrily, Damn Saiyan! How dare you let the great emperor of the universe defile your body? Unforgivable! Frieza roared again, preparing to transform and crush the monkey. Suddenly, a deafening explosion rang out. Frieza stared in shock as Planet Vegeta erupted from within, unleashing a powerful surge of energy. The earth shattered, magma spewed forth, and lightning lashed out wildly. The explosion was so deafening, so utterly silent, that Frieza felt he heard nothing at all. Planet Vegeta exploded, turning into cosmic dust, leaving only scattered fragments floating in space. Oh no! I was too close. I'll get hurt. Frieza cried out in terror as he watched Planet Vegeta explode. He had gotten too close to eliminate the Saiyan who had appeared out of nowhere, and now, enveloped by the aftershocks of the explosion, he too had suffered considerable injury. A moment later, Frieza, his body covered in crimson blood, reappeared in space, his face contorted with rage as he stared at the exploding Planet Vegeta. According to his plan, the Saiyan should have been completely destroyed in the explosion, but looking at his wounds, he felt no joy. Damn it, I'm so angry. I didn't even get to kill that Saiyan myself. But it's all for the best. Those Saiyan monkeys were destroyed with the explosion of Planet Vegeta. It's just a bit strange, though. Where did that last Saiyan expert come from? And why did Planet Vegeta explode? My own planet-destroying energy blast hadn't even hit the ground yet. Frieza left Planet Vegeta with deep questions. In any case, at least he achieved his ultimate goal, those annoying Saiyans were finally dead. Chapter 64 Reactions from all parties. As Frieza departed on his giant return spaceship, on a remote planet near the Vegeta system, some people were observing his every move through long-range probes. Suddenly, a tall, imposing figure stood on the desolate planet, his tail slapping the ground. It was a creature remarkably similar to Frieza's final form. He was tall and robust, about the same height as Bardock, much taller than Frieza. His arms were crossed over his chest, and he had blood-red eyes, purplish-black lips, and 2 lines resembling blood tears below his eyes. His body was covered in a gleaming purple shell, granting him immense defensive power. He had 3 toes on 1 foot, and his footsteps made a creaking sound. This was Cooler, Frieza's older brother, who claimed to possess even greater power than Frieza, yet remained largely unknown. The most elite unit in Frieza's army is undoubtedly the Jinryu Force, possessing formidable combat power. However, Cooler, Frieza's older brother, commands an even more powerful personal guard, the Cooler Jaeger Squad. Each member of the Jaeger Squad is a super soldier personally selected by Cooler from across the universe, their combat strength comparable to that of Jinryu, the captain of the Jinryu Force. "Saviza, how's the situation?" Cooler asked, his hands behind his back, his voice deep and resonant. "Yes, sir," Saviza, the captain of the Jaeger Squad, bowed respectfully and replied, "Lord Frieza has already attacked the Saiyans. He gathered all the Saiyans and destroyed Planet Vegeta, claiming it was caused by a meteorite impact. That Frieza guy, he's too hasty. He couldn't resist destroying the Saiyans so quickly. His fighting force has been reduced by more than half." Cooler commented calmly on his brother Frieza's actions. "Yes, Lord Cooler, Lord Frieza almost wiped out all the Saiyans, but it seems he spared the Saiyan Prince and his followers," Saviza continued to report. "That Frieza still acts like a child, never doing anything clean." "Let him be," Cooler said calmly, his gaze dark. "Just a few insignificant Saiyans. Even if there are some Super Saiyans, they're no match for our race." "Yes, Lord Cooler," Saviza nodded in agreement. "My lord, I heard there's a group of demons causing trouble in the northern galaxy, attacking a planet we've occupied. Mere demons, daring to defy the strongest race in our universe?" Cooler's eyes flashed coldly as he ordered, "Find them. I want to crush them with my own hands." "Yes, my lord," Saviza bowed respectfully. In the distant southern galaxy, near the border with the northern galaxy, lies a forbidden area, a place even King Kai and the Galactic Patrol dare not approach. This is the lair of Frieza's clan, their birthplace, and the now retired King Kurt is here to cultivate himself. Although he long ago broke away from the Kurdish army and handed it over to his favorite youngest son, Frieza, renaming it the Frieza Legion, King Kurt still keeps a close eye on his 2 sons' movements. Frieza and Cooler, along with himself, constitute the strongest race in the universe, born with the greatest fighting power, and considering themselves the natural emperors of the universe. "Frieza, how is he?" King Kurt swirled the wine in his glass, his massive size exuding an imposing aura, coupled with his terrifying fighting power, causing even his subordinates to tremble with fear and dare not look him in the eye. "Yes, King Cold," one of his men immediately replied. "Lord Frieza has now annihilated all the Saiyans on Planet Vegeta." "How, that Frieza guy, I told you long ago, Saiyans are a naturally proud race, they won't submit to his will. Now he finally believes me." King Cold smiled, but his eyes remained impassive. "What is Cooler doing?" King Cold asked again, somewhat wary of his son, Cooler. Cooler possessed a transformation even more powerful than Frieza's, now surpassing him. Only by being with Frieza could he contend with him. That was why, after retiring, he entrusted the Cold Army to Frieza, not Cooler, believing Cooler harbored resentment towards him. Reporting to King Cold, Lord Cooler is currently near Lord Frieza's territory, seemingly inspecting Lord Frieza's annihilation of the Saiyans. King Cold's subordinate immediately responded. King Cold still retained his ability to gather information, his spies were scattered throughout the universe, allowing him to stay informed at any time. This was something neither Cooler nor even his beloved Frieza knew. Everyone needs a trump card. He went to Frieza's territory? King Cold frowned slightly, quickly asking, "Besides observation, did he do anything else?" "No," his subordinate replied respectfully, "Lord Cooler has returned." "Is that so?" "That's good." King Cold relaxed, leaning back slightly in his large chair. "Continue to monitor their movements. Inform me immediately of any new developments." "Yes, King Cold." Frieza's clan remained calm. For them, destroying the Saiyans was merely a minor inconvenience. They could reduce their own fighting force and continue searching for reinforcements in more locations. But for the Galactic Patrol, this was incredibly good news. The Galactic Patrol is a cosmic police force directly led by King Galactic, tasked with maintaining order throughout Universe 7. However, their situation is incredibly difficult. With only 38 members, most Galactic Patrol members have no chance against either Frieza's army or the Saiyans. Therefore, they can only try to avoid the Saiyans' battlegrounds and areas where Frieza's race exists, struggling to maintain cosmic order. Now, the bloodthirsty and warlike Saiyans of the universe have actually died in a natural disaster. This is truly wonderful, a cause for celebration. Ha ha ha, great! Those Saiyans are finally dead. Yet, as Frieza's henchmen, they killed countless people. They've finally been punished by heaven. Ha 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 ha. Jackie, you're in charge of the border of the North Galaxy. Our personnel detected a spherical spacecraft from Frieza's army heading towards Earth. There's only a little guy inside. Go check it out immediately. It might be a surviving Saiyan. Go verify the time. If it really is a Saiyan, kill him immediately. Understood, Galactic King. Just watch me, Jackie. Whoosh! A spaceship bearing the Galactic Patrol insignia departed from the Galactic Patrol headquarters, heading towards Earth in the North Galaxy. At this moment, in a corner of the galaxy, on a green planet, the Earth was riddled with holes, as if it had just experienced a war. On this planet, a bald boy and two little boys sat together, grilling meat from an unknown creature similar to a praying mantis on Earth. This meat, 10 times the size of a praying mantis, sizzled and dripped with oil, and the aroma gradually wafted over. A boy with his hair sticking up to the sky casually tore off a piece of meat and began to chew. The other two, seeing this, slowly went over, tore off pieces of meat, and swallowed them as well. Of the three, the bald boy was clearly the oldest, yet he acted entirely according to the whims of the seated boy. Suddenly, the bald boy's face contorted with terror. He listened intently to the message coming through the communicator. What? What did you say? After a moment's pause, the bald boy cried out in panic, It's terrible. Vegeta, Raditz, Planet Vegeta is destroyed. Planet Vegeta was struck by a giant meteorite and exploded. Now, there might only be 3 of us Saiyans left. The boy with his spiky hair sitting down frowned, then relaxed, saying casually, Well, it's a bit of a shame. I almost became king. Raditz, with his waist-length spiky hair, frowned, tilted his head, and thought for a moment. Oh well, so be it. By the way, I heard you have a younger brother, right, Raditz? Vegeta asked casually. Vegeta also remembered his younger brother, Tarbell. He looked down on his brother. His fighting power was too weak, not even reaching the standard of a mid-level Saiyan. Because he was too weak, his father exiled him. Even because King Vegeta was afraid of losing face, he was secretly exiled. No one else knows about this except him now. Oh, yes, my brother Kakarot. Raditz nodded, thought for a moment, and replied, I remember his parents exiled him to some Earth. He should have survived. Never mind, he's just a low-level warrior with low fighting power anyway. Oh. Vegeta tore off a piece of meat and chewed it heartily. Since he was just an exiled Saiyan, how strong could he be? Just trash. Even if they found him and let him join their team, he would only lower their team's average level. Chapter 65: A New Era. In the northern Milky Way, on a remote planet, lies Earth. Earth, an insignificant planet in the universe, possesses low combat power, with its highest level only around 100. Its technological level is also low. Most people cannot even travel to other planets in their own star system, let alone engage in interstellar travel. However, today, on a deserted landmass on Earth, a race considered evil and powerful even in the universe, the Saiyans, has appeared. This landmass is inhabited by dinosaurs and powerful monsters, making the living environment extremely harsh, so ordinary humans cannot live here. However, this is the place that Raul and Asyana have found, the most suitable place for the Saiyans to temporarily reside. Desolate, undisturbed, and with high-energy food from dinosaurs and monsters, it's simply perfect. As for those dinosaurs and monsters that seem terrifying to ordinary humans, could they possibly be stronger than the Saiyans? Suddenly, a series of dazzling meteors appeared in the sky, seemingly appearing out of thin air without any warning. Then, streaks of light fell upon this desolate land. When the light from the meteors faded, what appeared to be ordinary humans lay on the ground. These humans all had black hair and black eyes, wore tight-fitting battle suits covered in armor, and, more surprisingly, each possessed a bushy tail. Their tails twitched uncontrollably, revealing their turbulent emotions. Some Saiyans remained in battle stances, their tails bristling, cautiously surveying their surroundings. Others were covered in blood, a gruesome sight, as if they had just survived a fierce battle. Still others were completely bewildered. Where are we? I remember fighting those guys on Planet Vegeta, and suddenly we're here. Oh, me too. I almost died, but it seems safe now. But, where is this? The air is fresh, and the gravity is low. It doesn't look like Planet Vegeta. It's definitely not. Do you know what I saw before I got here? Planet Vegeta exploded. What? How is that possible? Where am I? Bardock clutched his chest, looking miserable. He was completely bewildered. Just moments ago, he was watching that Saiyan fight Frieza, and now he was here. I survived? Where am I? And why are there so many Saiyans all of a sudden? Bardock was utterly confused, not understanding what had happened. The events of the day were too bizarre. First, Frieza wanted to destroy Planet Vegeta, sending a large number of warriors to raid and plunder it. He fought them to the death to protect Jin and his home. Then, in an attempt to resolve the disaster once and for all, he fought valiantly, charging towards Frieza, only to discover that Frieza's energy far exceeded his expectations. He was nearly crushed to death by the massive energy sphere. However, what happened next shocked him. The young man Jin had introduced them to, the one who had treated them to some special delicacies, had single-handedly blocked Frieza's fierce attack, allowing him to survive. After that, he knew nothing more. In the final moments, he only saw the young man fiercely battling Frieza, then a flash of white light, and when he opened his eyes again, he was here. Jin, cough cough. Jin, are you alright? Bardock gasped for breath, severely injured and still recovering his strength. Bardock slowly flew up, trying to find Jin. Suddenly, a loud sound attracted the attention of all the surviving Saiyans. Quiet down, everyone. Stop flying around. This isn't Planet Vegeta anymore, it's Earth. You're safe. Everyone looked up to see a female Saiyan in strange clothes, holding a large megaphone and shouting. Earth? Where's Earth? We're really not on Planet Vegeta anymore, so how did we get here? Earth. I think I've heard of it. It's a remote planet with no special resources. Earth. Bardock was shocked. This was Earth. Wasn't this the planet he had chosen for his son, Kakarot? But Earth was so far from Planet Vegeta, how did they get here in the blink of an eye? After thinking it over, Bardock decided to stop being so discreet and flew towards the female Saiyan to ask what had happened. There were many others like Bardock. They flew up in droves and surrounded the female Saiyan, because, judging from the situation, this strangely dressed woman was the one they knew the most about. Don't rush, everyone, I'll explain later. Don't push. Don't push me. There's so much space here, why are you pushing me? Asyana shouted, unleashing a massive burst of energy that instantly sent all the Saiyans surrounding her flying with sheer force. The Saiyans who were sent flying were shocked, especially the stronger ones. Even King Vegeta couldn't have sent them flying with just his aura. Was this Saiyan really their familiar comrade? Bardock's expression changed. Although his stamina hadn't fully recovered, he could still judge the level of strength. This woman had sent him flying with just her aura. Even at his full strength, he couldn't be her match. Where did so many powerful individuals come from? One can fight Frieza, and another can easily repel me. Bardock fell silent, his heart filled with even greater horror. This world seemed increasingly unfamiliar. Bardock. A joyful voice rang out, and a petite and lovely figure flew up from the ground and crashed into Bardock's arms. Bardock grinned, reaching out to hug the petite beauty, saying with a smile, Jin, I'm so glad you're alright. Ouch, slow down, I'm still injured. The petite and adorable Jin, her eyes filled with glistening tears, flew to Bardock's side, supporting him. Bardock, I thought I'd never see you again. You're covered in blood, are you alright? I'm fine, Bardock said with a smile. He felt much more at ease now, he was alive, and Jin was unharmed. Could there be anything better? Shirl, one of the last to be transferred back, landed at the very back of the crowd. He looked up at the sky and saw Asyana in the heavens. Phew, that scared me to death. I almost perished with Planet Vegeta. I don't know what Shenron was thinking, making me one of the last to return. My stamina was completely depleted. I'll eat a senzu bean to perk myself up. Raul smiled slightly, casually taking out a senzu bean and swallowing it. His injuries instantly healed, and his stamina was immediately restored. Feeling the surging power within his body, Raul smiled, even happier looking at the Saiyans around him. From this moment on, the sea is wide enough for fish to leap, the sky high enough for birds to fly. The Saiyans had finally broken free from the control of Frieza and his clan. The Saiyans of Planet Vegeta were a thing of the past, now came the Saiyans of a new era. Raul moved swiftly, transforming into a phantom, and flew towards Asuna's location. Chapter 66 Saiyan Martial Arts Tournament. Raul. Asyana looked at Raul beside her with surprise and said quickly, "Quick, you're finally here. Help me explain, they're so annoying." "Okay, leave it to me." Raul patted his chest and took the megaphone from Asyana. He coughed twice, gathering his emotions. Having just escaped Frieza's clutches, Raul was in a very good mood. "Hey, Bardock, look, that's Raul, and next to her is Asyana. They're people I know." Jin helped Bardock up and saw Raul and Asyana in the center of all the Saiyans. Bardock nodded slowly, silently memorizing their names, Raul, Asyana. Especially Raul, he had personally witnessed a battle between a Saiyan and the Cosmic Emperor Frieza. He could hardly even get close to them, and could be blown away by the aftershocks at any moment. "Hello everyone, my name is Raul. Let me briefly explain the current situation. Please be quiet." "Quiet." Raul frowned, looking at the noisy Saiyans around him. Many of them were seeing him for the first time, and having just escaped death, they were extremely excited and unable to calm down. "Looks like I need to show them a little power, give them some relief." Raul thought to himself, raising his hand and then forcefully pressing down. A powerful hurricane swept in all directions. The Saiyans, who had been chattering just moments before, suddenly felt an even more violent wind. This strong wind even made it impossible for them to maintain their flight posture. They could only wobble and struggle against the gale as they landed on the ground. "What is this? It's terrifying. One hand, and we can't keep flying. What kind of power is this?" All the Saiyans were shocked again. Raul looked at them and nodded, seeing that they were now quiet. Immediately, he realized that the Saiyans were still too weak and their knowledge too shallow, easily frightened by such a small trick. "Alright, I'll briefly explain the situation. Please keep quiet. You're no longer on Planet Vegeta, this is Earth, far away." As he spoke, Raul seemed to remember something and looked at Asuna, asking, "By the way, Asuna, did you bring that thing?" "Yes, I brought it," Asuna said, taking out a large, dark box. Raul nodded upon seeing it, relieved. This was an item Raul had asked Dr. Brief to make during a break from his training on Planet Vegeta. It wasn't anything special, it only had one effect, signal blocking, preventing the combat power detectors worn by Frieza's army from communicating and interfering with long-distance communication signals. After asking this question, Raul continued, "I used a special item to instantly teleport everyone here from the soon-to-be-destroyed Planet Vegeta. I believe everyone already knows, especially those warriors covered in wounds, they must have just been through a fierce battle. That's right, those who invaded Planet Vegeta were soldiers of Frieza's army. You're not stupid, you should be able to recognize their equipment as that of Frieza's combat personnel. Therefore, it's natural that Frieza sent them to kill us Saiyans. Finally, Frieza even saw that their killing efficiency was too slow and personally intervened, wanting to destroy all Saiyans. And I, Raul, and Asyana beside me, through our efforts, obtained an item. Through this item, my fellow Saiyans here escaped their fate of annihilation at the last moment. That's right, Planet Vegeta has been destroyed, and everyone here is almost the last surviving Saiyan in this universe." Shock, bewilderment. The Saiyans, who claim to be the strongest warrior race in the universe, were also shocked by this explosive news. They had become the last Saiyans in the universe? They, the Saiyans, had previously destroyed other people's planets at Frieza's behest. Was it finally their turn? They looked at their comrades, especially those warriors who had just fought a battle. A few, confused and unaware of the situation, quickly asked others, and the information they received was remarkably consistent. Soldiers wearing the standard battle uniforms of Frieza's army had killed countless Saiyans. They had fought them desperately, and a very few had even witnessed the explosion of Planet Vegeta in the instant they were teleported away. Planet Vegeta is destroyed, what should we do? Yeah, we can't go to Frieza's place either, we'll definitely be killed. Hey, isn't this a new planet? Why don't we just live here? What about the original inhabitants? Kill them. That's how we Saiyans have always lived. If someone disagrees, we fight. If we don't have something, we steal it. Ralph overheard some of the Saiyans' conversation, looking bewildered. What kind of bandit logic was this? He had already eliminated most of the cruel and bloodthirsty Saiyans, so why was it still like this? Where's King Vegeta? Is he dead? Has anyone seen King Vegeta? No, he's not here, probably dead. Then, who should we Saiyans listen to? Frieza wants to kill us, and King Vegeta is gone, what should we do? Some Saiyans immediately thought of this. Saiyans are also humans, social beings, and naturally they would seek companions to live with and form a group with a ruler. Before, it was King Vegeta, but now? Quiet down, everyone. I have something important to say. King Vegeta is dead, and Prince Vegeta is missing. Therefore, we need a new ruler, Raoul shouted. We need a new king. A new Saiyan king will lead us Saiyans to continue to survive and usher in a new era, Raoul said with a smile. A tall Saiyan flew out from the crowd. Raoul glanced at him, realizing he didn't recognize him. The tall Saiyan looked at Raoul and asked, "What do you mean by that? Do you want to be our Saiyan king? You want to seize the Saiyan king's throne with just a few words? Hey, don't misunderstand. I'm a very democratic person." Raoul smiled slightly and waved his hand. Of course, I can't become king with just a few words, nor will I seek favors. Since it seems many people are eager to try and become king, why don't we hold a world martial arts tournament? World martial arts tournament? The crowd below naturally heard what Raoul said through the megaphone and looked at each other, not understanding what he meant. What world martial arts tournament? The tall Saiyan asked, puzzled. It's simple. Since no one is willing to submit to anyone else, why not hold a world martial arts tournament? Raoul, hovering high in the sky, looked down at the group of Saiyans below and declared loudly, it's simple. We Saiyans respect strength above all else. Naturally, whoever is the strongest will be king. Anyone confident in their abilities can participate in our world martial arts tournament. The strongest Saiyan will become the new king. That should satisfy everyone, right? Oh, that sounds interesting. I agree. The tall Saiyan showed interest and slowly descended. The many Saiyans below nodded, their expressions thoughtful. That's right. Based on strength, whoever is the strongest Saiyan in the world will become king. Not just based on tricks and empty words. Chapter 67 Saiyan Census. Roll, what are you doing? Don't we have a combat power detector? Just use the new detector to check your combat power. Why do we have to hold some kind of world martial arts tournament? Asyana approached Roll and asked helplessly. Raoul shrugged and explained, I didn't want to, but the ordinary detectors can't detect my full combat power. I'm afraid they won't be convinced by just the ordinary readings. Can't detect it? Asyana asked, puzzled, taking out a new type of detector. Isn't this kind of detector supposed to detect combat power below 100,000? Asyana suddenly realized something, her eyes widening in surprise. So, Raoul, your combat power is now over 100,000. Yes, Raoul said helplessly. I didn't expect this new detector to become unusable so quickly, so I don't know my current combat power. It seems that once the Saiyans here settle down, I'll need to ask Dr. Brief to make a new type of detector. Raoul smiled helplessly. This was truly a happy problem. He never imagined that one day, because his combat power had increased too quickly, the new detector Dr. Brief made would become unusable so soon. Is that so? Asyana opened her rosy lips in surprise, looking at Raoul. She thought Raoul couldn't improve after going to Planet Vegeta, but it hadn't been long, and he had already exceeded 100,000 power level. She had finally thought she had caught up with Raoul, but now it seemed that the gap had widened again. And you, what's your power level now? Raoul asked curiously. He could sense a stronger aura from Asyana than before he left Earth. Me? My power level has reached 88,900 now, Asyana said with a sweet smile. I thought I could catch up with you, but I didn't expect to fall behind again. Oh, that much? Asyana, you've already adapted to 100 times the gravity? Raoul asked in surprise. Yes, Asyana proudly raised her head. I haven't slacked off for a single day since you left. I've been training hard and finally successfully adapted to 100 times the gravity. Very impressive, Raoul praised. Meanwhile, she thought to herself that due to the differences in fusion, the time and power gained by different Saiyans after experiencing 100 times the gravity were not the same. Of course, I will definitely catch up with you. Asyana smiled sweetly, waving her fair fist. Go for it. Raoul encouraged her. By the way, do you have paper and pen? Raoul suddenly asked. No, what do you need those for? Asyana asked curiously. Oh, to conduct a Saiyan census. Raoul said casually. He himself didn't have paper and pen, so it seemed he would have to go and buy some later. What is this? Asyana looked puzzled. However, Raoul was unable to answer her question at this moment, as he had already landed among the Saiyans. Asyana saw this and followed Raoul down. Aunt Jane, Mr. Bardock, we meet again. Raoul smiled as he looked at the two people resting by a large tree ahead. Bardock's pupils shrank, and he became somewhat nervous. He recognized who this person was. Wasn't this Raoul, the one he considered the strongest Saiyan warrior at present? Previously, he hadn't known Raoul's strength and had been very casual while eating with him. Now that he knew Raoul's true power, he naturally couldn't maintain his usual composure. Jane, however, remained easygoing, smiling and waving at Raoul, saying, "Oh, it's Raoul. Come on, come on. Oh, Asyana's here too, come on over." Raoul turned around and saw Asyana landing behind him, giving him a sweet smile, and they walked over together. Jane thanked him. Thank you, Raoul, for saving us. Otherwise, my husband Bardock and I might have died. You're welcome, Raoul said casually. You seem to know this place well. I wonder if you can find a doctor or medical equipment. Bardock is covered in injuries. Jane held Bardock's hand, her eyes full of worry and concern. I'm fine, Jane, don't worry about me. I'll be fine after a rest. Bardock patted Jane's hand, comforting her. Raoul pulled out a senzu bean and said with a smile, no need to go to the hospital, no need to find any medical equipment. Eat this, and I guarantee you'll be cured and full of energy. What is this? Jane took the small bean from Raoul's hand with a puzzled look and examined it carefully. A shriveled green bean that could cure diseases and injuries? Eat it. Raoul urged, it's for healing. It has miraculous effects. Jane hesitated and handed the bean to Bardock. It wasn't that she didn't trust Raoul, but a bean that could cure diseases was too strange. Bardock took it and swallowed it in one gulp. Although he was also puzzled, he believed that Raoul wouldn't lie to him with his abilities. Sure enough, after swallowing the senzu bean, Bardock's eyes widened. A special energy flowed from the digested bean to his entire body. In just a few blinks, Bardock felt abundant energy, and the pain in his wounds was gone. Bardock slowly stood up, his powerful body radiating a strong energy fluctuation. After this battle, his strength had increased even further. Ah, Bardock, you're all better? Jane looked at the energetic Bardock with surprise, sensing that his condition was completely different. Yes, Jane, I feel full of power now, and look, my battle wounds have healed. Bardock said with delight. This is the senzu bean, it can heal all injuries. Raoul said with a smile, looking at the scar on Bardock's face. However, Mr. Bardock's scar is too old, it has already healed, so it cannot return to its original form. Thank you, I'm very satisfied. Bardock thanked her, feeling the powerful energy within him. Thank you so much. Jane was moved to tears, and after saying that, she suddenly threw herself into Bardock's arms and hugged him tightly. Even the tough, steely Bardock had a slight blush on his face, a touch of shyness in his expression. Normally, this wouldn't bother him, but given Roar and Asyana's special status, their public display of affection made him a little embarrassed. Roar simply smiled and watched, not wanting to disturb them. He turned to Asyana, noticing her eyes sparkling as she stared at Bardock and Jane, a blush creeping onto her face, seemingly lost in thought. Hey, Asyana, are you alright? Roar waved his hand in front of Asyana, startling her from her daze. Asyana, her face flushed, rolled her eyes at Raoul. HMPH, of course I'm fine. You're the one who's in trouble. Raoul chuckled sheepishly, then said, you should still have the senzu bean jar on you, right? Give the senzu beans to those who are seriously injured. Don't bother with the ones who are just minorly injured. I'll go buy some paper and pens. I'll be right back. Okay, no problem. Asyana nodded. Raul slowly ascended into the air. Before leaving, he instructed, by the way, tell these Saiyans not to go out. Just stay here. Their appearance will be a huge shock to humanity. We have to take it slow. Don't worry, I know. Asyana nodded. She not only carried the latest detectors but also possessed the ability to sense ki, ensuring no Saiyan would escape. Raul nodded, his body enveloped in white flames, and soared towards the distant horizon. A moment later, Raul returned carrying a dozen sheets of paper and several pens. At this moment, Asyana had already distributed the senzu beans and healed the severely injured Saiyans. She was whispering to Jin, while Bardock stood beside them, surveying their surroundings. A moment later, Suru landed, smiling, and said, I'm back. Asyana, here, this is your paper and pen. We'll use this tree as the dividing line. I'll count the Saiyans in the south, and you count the Saiyans in the north. Just write down the ordinary Saiyans with a black pen. Use red and blue pens to mark any special cases. Asyana asked, you haven't told me yet, how do we count them? What do we count? Suru slapped his forehead, somewhat embarrassed, and said, look at me, I almost forgot. The count is simple. Count their numbers, names, fighting strength, gender, male or female, and whether they have any special skills. Special skills are things other than fighting. For example, Aunt Jin's special skill is processing food, like that. Oh, and collect their detectors. We'll give them to the professor to modify later. Oh, I understand. Asyana suddenly realized, I'll go do it right away. That sounds interesting, I'll go too. Jin, like a vibrant young girl, full of curiosity, followed behind Asyana. I'll follow them and see if there's anything I can do to help, Bardock said calmly, following closely behind Jin. How come there are 3 of them now? Roel stared blankly at the trio of Asyana, shook his head with a wry smile, and went off to count the Saiyans on the other side. Chapter 68 Clothing, Food, Housing, and Transportation. Name? Karkl. Age, 15 years old. Gender, fill it in whatever you think is right. Okay, let me see your fighting power, 1800, not bad. Any special strengths? No, I only know how to fight. Okay, next. Raul quickly compiled all the Saiyan information. After about 10 hours, he finally finished compiling his own data. Asyana, with Jin's help and Bardock's assistance, finished compiling the data even faster than Raul. Raul came to Asyana and the others, and the 4 of them looked at the compiled data. I have a total of 5,856 people on my side, Raul said. And on your side, Asyana? I have a total of 7,608 people on my side, Asyana glanced at her paper. Then that's a total of 13,464 people. Raul thought for a moment and calculated the number. Well, Asyana, you must have noticed by now, Raul said, frowning as he looked at her. Of the 13,000 or so, about 300 aren't Saiyans. Asyana nodded, then, after a moment's thought, said, I remember now. When I wished upon Shenron, I said people from Planet Vegeta, not Saiyans. Maybe that's why the aliens from Planet Vegeta were teleported along with them. So, Raul, should we kill them? Raul took the statistics from Asyana, frowned, and shook his head as he looked at the information on the paper. Saiyans are indeed skilled in combat, most don't have any special survival skills. Even support personnel like Jin are rare. On the other hand, every surviving alien possesses unique skills. Those responsible for technological manufacturing, transportation and production, information processing, they're all talented individuals. Raul, naturally reluctant to eliminate them so easily, said, no need. Although you didn't restrict the Saiyans, you restricted their hearts. They won't be cruel and bloodthirsty, nor will they genuinely respect Frieza. Keep them. If we Saiyans want to continue developing, we need not only warriors but also outstanding talents in various fields. Asyana nodded. Alright, their combat power is low anyway, they're easy to control. It's just a pity. The Saiyan population totaled over 1.8 million, but less than 1% survived. Raul sighed. He knew that the surviving Saiyans would be few after selection, but this number was ridiculously low. Yes, I remember there were over 1.8 million Saiyans on Planet Vegeta. Even if it's just 1%, that's still 18,000 people. The aliens on planet Vegeta only numbered around 1,000, yet over 300 survived. The Saiyan survival rate is less than 1%, while about a third of these aliens survived. This proves that there are indeed far too many evil Saiyans, requiring many to be eliminated. Just like Earthlings say, there are more good people than bad people in the world, but with Saiyans, it's more accurate to say, there are more bad people than good people in the world. Over 90% of Earthlings are ordinary good people, while over 90% of Saiyans are ruthless killers. However, Raoul was already quite satisfied. According to the original storyline, fewer than 10 Saiyans should have survived. Someone's leaving? Suddenly, Raoul's expression changed as he sensed several people quickly leaving the group and heading into the distance. Raoul transformed into a phantom and rushed into the distance. Several Saiyans who were about to leave stared in surprise at the phantom that appeared before them, which then gradually solidified. Raoul looked at the group and snapped, "What are you doing? Where are you going at this hour? We're just looking for food. We've been starving for ages," one of the Saiyans shouted. "Yeah, you told us not to leave, but you can't let us starve like this," he echoed angrily. Raoul paused, taken aback. He had already considered the reconstruction work after rescuing the Saiyans, but he never imagined that the first problem they would face after the rescue would be how to feed the Saiyans. Raoul hesitated, then said, "Don't worry, leave this to me. There will definitely be food. You guys go back first. Tomorrow is the World Martial Arts Tournament. Don't you want to know who will become the new Saiyan King?" The group exchanged glances, nodded, and returned to their original positions. Roel hovered in the air, watching the Saiyan refugees, feeling somewhat troubled. He hadn't even officially become the leader of the Saiyans yet, and now he was already running around for them again. This time, it was for the Saiyans' daily meals, food, drink, and sanitation. "Asyana, you stay here and watch over them. Don't let them leave. I'm going to buy some supplies and I'll be right back," Roel instructed Asyana, then transformed into a streak of light and flew towards the horizon. Asyana smiled as she watched Roel bustling about, thinking he really did look like a Saiyan ruler. However, this king was in a pitiful state. He hadn't even led his people yet, but he was running around for the Saiyans' food and drink. 10,000 people, not a huge number, but not a small number either. The food and drink for over 10,000 people, even just buying supplies, wouldn't be a small expense. Roel would have to travel to distant large cities. Even some bustling small towns probably couldn't gather so many supplies in such a short time. East Capital, Capsule Store. Luoer, no longer caring about concealing his identity, descended from the sky, landing at the shop's entrance. Surrounded by onlookers, he entered the shop. The beautiful saleswoman selling the universal capsule had been sitting inside and hadn't seen Luoer land. Seeing a group of people surrounding a young man as he entered, she assumed he was some important figure and rushed over. The saleswoman smiled and said, "Hello, this is the Donged Universal Capsule Specialty Store. What do you need? We have everything. Televisions, beds, cars, houses, even airplanes, etc. We have a wide variety of items at fair prices." Luoer looked around curiously, then said directly, "I need some houses, but there are quite a few." The beautiful saleswoman's eyes lit up. It seemed he was not only handsome but also very rich. Her smile widened, and she said, "Yes, of course. How many do you need?" "Let's start with, to round it up, 13,500 houses." Luoer thought for a moment and said, "What?" The saleswoman's eyes widened. She recalled the number Luoer had mentioned and was stunned. The onlookers were stunned. Who buys houses, especially over 10,000? They wouldn't even dare to dream of such a thing. "I'm sorry, sir, we don't have that many here," the saleswoman said with a smile. She was even thinking this guy was there to cause trouble and was about to call security. Luoer raised an eyebrow. "Sure enough, they didn't have that many items." He said, "Never mind, I'll take as many as you have. Do you have any tents? I'll take them all." The saleswoman's eyes widened. After a moment's hesitation, she asked, "Are you sure? We have a total of 150 house capsules and 2,500 tent capsules in our warehouse." "Okay, I'll take them all." Luoer nodded, took out a black card, and handed it to the saleswoman. The saleswoman took the card with a puzzled look, swiped it on the machine, and then looked at the information on the machine in shock. She was even more shocked. "It's not a joke. The balance is sufficient. Here's your card. Please keep it safe." We'll send someone to the warehouse immediately to retrieve the items. The beautiful saleswoman respectfully handed the card to Luoer, and even the way she looked at him changed, her eyes shining. A while later, a saleswoman, dressed in a bag and carrying a large stack of miracle capsules, came in and handed them to Luoer. She couldn't help but glance at him a few more times. Buying a house like buying candy was terrifying. "Sir, these are your items, please keep them safe," the beautiful saleswoman said respectfully, then handed him a slip of paper. "This is my contact number. Would you mind having a drink sometime?" The saleswoman was also a stunning beauty, with an oval face, willow leaf eyebrows, and eyes that blinked gently at Luoer. "Thank you, but I'm busy. Maybe next time," Luoer said, grabbing his miracle capsules and flying away without even glancing at the paper. "A mere woman trying to seduce me? No way." Under the saleswoman's astonished gaze, Luoer, carrying the large bag of capsules, flew into the sky. Afterwards, Raoul ran to several shops and finally bought all the capsules. He also bought a large amount of food from several restaurants and taverns, purchased a large truck, loaded everything into the truck, and flew back. "I'm back." Raoul descended from the sky carrying the truck, landing next to Asyana. The Saiyans around him were curious when they saw Raoul carrying such a large truck filled with capsule-like objects, and they gathered around. "Everyone must be hungry and need a place to stay. These are capsules. They have special spaces inside that store all sorts of items," Raoul explained, picking up a capsule at random. Finally, he pressed a switch, threw it forward, and a house suddenly appeared after a puff of smoke. "Oh, how amazing. How did you do that? Compressing space? Even we Saiyans can't do that. Yet, we never saw this kind of technology back in Frieza's army. It's incredible." Many Saiyans were also shocked by this special item. It was unbelievable that such advanced technology appeared on such a backward planet. "Next, we'll begin distributing supplies. Since the number of houses is limited, most are tents. Only those meeting special requirements can receive a house," Raoul announced, preparing to distribute the supplies. Each capsule has a number, allowing them to distinguish which are houses, tents, and food. Raoul, along with Asyana, began distributing the capsules. "Here, Aunt Jane, this is your and Mr. Bardock's house. These are the food," Raoul said, handing Jenny several capsules. Bardock, currently the strongest fighter besides Raoul and Asyana, and given Jane's familiarity with Raoul and Asyana, would naturally be assigned a house. "Thank you," Jane said curiously, taking the capsule and mimicking Raoul's actions, pressing and throwing it, instantly creating a house in front of them. "Wow, amazing!" Jane exclaimed, her eyes sparkling. Bardock, also curious, went inside with Jane to observe the layout, while Raoul and Asyana continued distributing supplies. Moments later, the land was filled with the exclamations of the Saiyans, followed by the sounds of chewing. Night fell, but the Saiyans remained excited and restless, unable to sleep. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 69 The Martial Arts Tournament begins. The following morning, all the Saiyans gathered in a desolate area of the continent, surrounded by jagged rocks, with a massive boulder in the center. The boulder's flat top, as if sculpted by nature itself, made it perfect as a fighting arena. "Today is a good day. It's the day for our first Saiyan martial arts tournament, and also the day to choose our leader," said Raoul, holding a megaphone, standing before the Saiyans and loudly proclaiming the rules. He was both the organizer and a participant in the Saiyan martial arts tournament. There was no other way. Given the current limited resources, everything had to be kept simple. The rules of the martial arts tournament are simple. First, the battles are divided into two types, group battles and one-on-one battles. Because there are too many people, we'll first eliminate most through group battles. Group battles will be fought in groups of 10. Falling off the stage means losing, as does surrendering. Not getting up within 10 seconds of falling also results in a loss. Second, the one-on-one battles will have the winners of the group battles advance to the stage for a duel. The loser is eliminated, and the winner advances directly to the next stage. The winners continue fighting until the tournament ends. Note, killing is strictly prohibited in these battles. Intentional killing is absolutely forbidden. Anyone who kills will be immediately eliminated and face severe penalties. Furthermore, because we need to determine the winners quickly so we can fly to a farther location, anyone who runs away will be considered to have surrendered and will lose their eligibility to compete. Without further ado, let's begin the battles. The first batch of 10 will enter the arena. Raul hovered at the edge of the arena, watching the Saiyans around him fly one by one onto the towering stage. Haha, first place is mine. Don't even think about it, I'll definitely win. An opportunity, this is an opportunity. A chance for a low-level Saiyan like me to become the Saiyan King. Previously, on Planet Vegeta, low-level, mid-level, and high-level Saiyans were ranked according to their birth level. Even if a low-level Saiyan's fighting power later surpassed that of a mid-level Saiyan, they wouldn't be promoted and would remain a low-level Saiyan. For example, Bardock's fighting power was so high that even a high-level Saiyan might not be able to match him, let alone a mid-level Saiyan. Although Bardock was respected by many, he remained a low-level Saiyan. These ranks were fixed from birth and could not be changed. Therefore, because there were so many low-level Saiyans, a very small number of them did indeed surpass the fighting power of mid-level Saiyans. Alright, stop, 10 people are enough, Raul said, stopping a Saiyan with a smile. Sir, please try again next time. TCH, the Saiyan looked at the 10 people above and had no choice but to fly down. Raul looked at the 10 Saiyans above, each facing each other seriously, as if they would start fighting at any moment. I reiterate, killing is prohibited. Alright, let the battle begin. Raul shouted loudly. Boom. In an instant, waves of energy blasts flew everywhere, and energy blasts flew around, turning the arena into a pitted mess in the blink of an eye. Okay, go. Charge. Don't be afraid, go. By the way, are you going to go up in a bit? Don't joke around, I'm just a low-level Saiyan, my power level is only 980, am I going to get beaten up? What about you? Aren't you going to go up? Me? I want to try, anyway, I can't kill anyone, so it's okay to try. Raul, aren't you going to go up? Asyana flew to Raul's side and asked curiously. Raul was still watching the fight intently, practically bursting with excitement, when Asyana asked him a question. He replied, no, I'll go up later. For now, I'll just be a referee and watch for a bit. And you, Asyana, are you planning to fight? Asyana shook her head and chuckled softly, I'm not going. I can't beat you anyway, it's pointless, and I'll just get my new clothes dirty. Okay. Raul shrugged indifferently, he didn't want to fight Asyana either. Bardock, are you going up? I think you'll definitely win. Jing looked at her husband Bardock with admiration. In her eyes, besides King Vegeta, Bardock was probably the strongest. Bardock scanned his surroundings, his gaze lingering on Raul and Asyana for a few seconds. He said in a low voice, I'll go up and try, but I can't win. There are stronger people here than me. I just want to test the difference between him and me firsthand. Jing followed Bardock's gaze, looking left and right, but didn't see any famous mid-level Saiyans. Could there be lower-level Saiyans stronger than Bardock? The battle on the arena was fierce. Raul watched closely, fearing that the Saiyan he had so painstakingly rescued might die in the fight. The battle quickly drew to a close. One Saiyan in the arena seemed particularly powerful, with a robust physique and formidable fighting ability, easily defeating the other Saiyans on the arena. It's him, Cattle. I know him. He's a mid-level Saiyan, and his power level is said to be over 5,000. What, 5,000? No wonder no one else could beat him. 5,000 power level? That's twice my power level. Luckily, I didn't go up there and embarrass myself. Listening to the surrounding Saiyan voices, Raul recognized the Saiyan on the stage, Cattle, a powerful Saiyan from a prestigious family. Raul nodded in approval, not bad. This Saiyan, you should rest over there. Most of the defeated Saiyans on the stage still had the strength to fly off. Only one person, though not dead, was severely injured. Raul flew down and handed him a senzu bean. The person who ate the bean immediately recovered and thanked him, thank you. Then he slunk off the stage. The senzu beans were the reason Raul dared to hold this martial arts tournament. As long as they weren't killed on the spot, the powerful healing effects of the senzu beans could easily revive them. Second batch, please step onto the stage. Raul shouted, causing a commotion among the Saiyans present. Bardock, who hadn't made a move in the first round, stepped onto the stage. Hey, Bardock's here. Look, it's Lord Bardock. I've heard before that Lord Bardock, as a lower-class Saiyan, has already surpassed most mid-class Saiyans. I wonder how strong he is now. Yet, that's terrifying. He should be considered one of the best among lower-class Saiyans. So, are you going to go up? If you defeat Bardock, you'll become famous. Don't joke around. Raul listened to the whispers around him. It seemed Bardock's fame was even greater than he had imagined. Bardock remained calm and slowly flew onto the stage, awaiting the many challengers. Jane looked at Bardock and listened to the surrounding discussions, a proud expression appearing on her face. This was her husband, her husband. Please, everyone, hurry up and come onto the stage, Raul urged. Under Raul's constant urging, one Saiyan after another flew onto the ring, looking at Bardock with awe and caution. Chapter 70 The Collapsed Arena. The second battle begins. With Raul's command, the second group battle in the arena officially commenced. However, the fighting on the arena didn't start immediately. Most Saiyans looked at Bardock with wary eyes. They were afraid that a single mistake would result in an instant defeat by Bardock. Bardock frowned slightly at their wary expressions. Since they dared not attack, he would strike first. Whoosh! Bardock transformed into a phantom, moving in a flash behind a short, stocky Saiyan. The Saiyan stared wide-eyed at Bardock behind him, exclaiming, "How can he be so fast?" Bardock didn't waste any words, delivering a powerful kick that sent the Saiyan flying off the arena. "Quick, get out of the way." The Saiyan's speed was incredible. The surrounding spectators were terrified and immediately flew aside to avoid the flying Saiyan. Boom! The short, stocky, unnamed Saiyan was slammed to the ground, disqualified from the match. Bardock charged at the next Saiyan, unleashing a straight punch. This powerful Saiyan reacted instantly, raising his hands to block in front of his chest. That was powerful. The Saiyan, struck, stared in shock at Bardock, his body flying backward uncontrollably. The powerful shockwave, amplified by Bardock and the Saiyan's defenses, rippled outwards in all directions. The Saiyans on the ring instantly felt Bardock's power. Bardock, seeing the Saiyan hadn't fallen after his punch, remained calm, then focused his energy, sending the Saiyan flying. Raul quickly followed, finally seeing the Saiyan stop after crashing into a small hill. Raul checked on him, relieved. He's alright, just unconscious. Bardock knows his limits. Raul carried the unconscious Saiyan back to the edge of the ring, casually placing him aside, and continued observing the events unfolding on the ring. At this moment, the remaining Saiyans on the stage stared intently at Bardock, their eyes filled with deep apprehension. They knew Bardock was strong, but they hadn't expected him to be this powerful. In the blink of an eye, two strong warriors had been knocked off the stage. What do we do? Bardock is too strong. Attack together, or we will be knocked off immediately. Okay, attack together. The remaining Saiyans immediately formed a makeshift team. To deal with the powerful Bardock, they exchanged glances and charged towards him together. Bardock. Jane, watching Bardock from the sidelines, looked on nervously, her eyes filled with worry. Bardock was indeed strong, but she hadn't expected them to team up. Was he alright? Would he be hurt? Bardock. Bardock frowned, looking at the Saiyans charging towards him. He let out a soft shout and unleashed a powerful aura. Instantly, a powerful aura swept across the stage like a whirlwind, causing the Saiyans who had just formed a team to attack to pause in their tracks. With a whoosh, Bardock charged towards the nearest Saiyan. His opponent froze, but Bardock wasn't about to stop. In mere moments, the group that had just formed a team to attack Bardock was utterly routed. This must be Bardock, Aunt Jane's husband. He's incredibly strong, Asyana remarked, standing beside Raul, watching Bardock's whirlwind attack in astonishment. While her current fighting power far surpassed Bardock's, it was the result of rigorous training on Earth, something Bardock had never undergone. Once Bardock unleashed his true power, the arena became one-sided, and in a matter of moments, Bardock emerged victorious without a doubt. So powerful, Lord Bardock. No, I've seen Bardock fight before, but I didn't expect him to become this strong. It's much more exaggerated than the last time I saw him fight. It seems that the final winner of this arena will be Bardock. The Saiyan crowd began to murmur. Bardock's overwhelming victory over the Saiyans made them think that Bardock was likely to be the final winner. Alright, the third battle begins, everyone continue. Raul shouted, and soon, figures flew towards the arena. The third match began. The battle was fierce. Everyone's fighting power was similar. For a moment, the arena was a chaotic mess. In just a short while, the arena could not withstand the battle and collapsed. With a rumble, the huge arena turned into a pile of rubble and collapsed. The remaining Saiyans were fighting fiercely. They didn't care about the arena. They flew into the air and continued to fight. The arena battles are a problem, and the training grounds for future matches are also a problem. The quality is terrible. Raul frowned, looking at the collapsed arena, reminiscent of the battle between Goku and the newly formed Piccolo on Earth. The intense fighting destroyed the arena, and even the entire island was riddled with holes and unrecognizable. As the Dragon Ball world progressed further, the power levels increased too rapidly, making ordinary battles easily destroy various arenas. In fact, intense battles could even destroy entire planets. For example, Namek was destroyed in the battle between Super Saiyan Goku and Frieza. Earth was also destroyed later in the battle between the Z Fighters and BUU. What can we do? We can't just fight one battle and then move to another. Raul frowned, a thoughtful expression on his face. While Raul was pondering, the arena battle was nearing its end, with a valiant female Saiyan emerging victorious. The arena's gone. What do we do? Yet, where do we fight next? Anywhere. Look, we can just fight on the ground. The Saiyans discussed the problems after the arena was destroyed. There were definitely still Saiyans who hadn't entered the arena yet, but the arena used for the competition was gone. Raul flew into the sky, looked at the ruins of the arena, shook his head helplessly, and finally shouted, "The arena's gone, so don't go in groups of 10, let's all come at once. The remaining Saiyans, come at me all at once, let's duel in the air and determine the winner of the fourth arena group battle." Raul's words caused an uproar among the Saiyans, who immediately started discussing and making a ruckus. Attack together. He's not joking, is he? How many people are there? I don't know, but there are definitely a lot. Who cares, as long as we enjoy the show. Alright, attack together. It's going to be exciting. Seeing that no one had stepped forward yet, Raul shouted, 1 minute limit. Anyone who hasn't flown over yet is considered to have forfeited. As soon as Raul said this, in an instant, Saiyans transformed into streaks of rainbow light and shot into the sky. 1, 2, 10, 20. Never mind, I'll stop counting. It's over 100. Raul glanced around at the Saiyans surrounding him. The number had exceeded 100. Alright, everyone get ready, the match begins. A beautiful Saiyan saw Raul still on the stage and asked in confusion, "Referee, the match is about to start, why aren't you off the stage yet? How, are you looking down on me, Thunder Hand Ventile?" Pshwa, I misspoke. Raul scratched his head. He'd been a bit out of it lately, hadn't he been getting enough rest? I'm also a participant this time, Raul continued. Alright, let the match begin. Raul stopped talking nonsense, his expression turning grim. He unleashed his powerful fighting force, and in an instant, an aura as deep and vast as the ocean surged forth, a howling wind arose, and the heavens and earth seemed to tremble under the pressure of Raul's overwhelming power. The Saiyans present, who had prepared to fight after Raul's command, now found themselves struggling to move, breathing rapidly, and even their bodies trembling as if they no longer belonged to them. Faced with Raul's unprecedented aura, all the Saiyans were utterly horrified. Chapter 71. 4 people. How can we fight like this? What a terrifying aura. He seems even stronger than Lord Bardock. Does anyone know his name? His name is Raul. Did he say so himself? I thought he was just a referee. I didn't expect him to be so powerful. Many Saiyans were startled by this earth-shattering aura, let alone those Saiyans who were preparing to fight Raul. These Saiyans were suppressed by the aura before the battle even started. They were like ants on the ground, while Raul was a dragon in the sky. Not fighting? Raul grinned at the stunned Saiyans around him. Then I'll go. Swoosh! Raul didn't intend to waste any more words. He transformed into a phantom and darted through the crowd. Anyone touched by the phantom fell to the ground. In a short while, the Saiyans who were still floating in the air fell to the ground like dumplings being dropped into a pot. This scene stunned all the Saiyans present. Hey, did you see that clearly? What happened? I don't know. 2 Saiyans watching the match rubbed their eyes in disbelief. This match was so bizarre that even the Saiyans watching from the outside were confused, let alone those on the field. What's going on? One of the Saiyans looked around warily, cold sweat dripping down his face. He saw his opponents falling to the ground one by one. He stared wide-eyed, searching for clues. The only thing he could confirm was that someone was attacking other Saiyans while moving at high speed. I need to gain altitude and see from a higher vantage point. This Saiyan thought to himself, and just as he was about to rise higher to react, he felt a sharp pain in his neck, and everything went black. In the last moment before he closed his eyes, he vaguely saw a Saiyan smiling at him. Boom! With a chop to the neck, he knocked out the last Saiyan, smiled slightly, and looked at the now empty space around him. Raul shouted, "Alright, I declare Raul the winner of the fourth match." The surrounding Saiyans blinked, wondering how this Saiyan could be both referee and competitor, even announcing his own result. However, they now knew that this Saiyan who had made such a splash was named Raul. Raul had only casually introduced himself. Most Saiyans had never seen him before and simply forgot him after hearing his name. But now, coupled with his unique record of fighting 100 Saiyans single-handedly, his name was instantly circulated among all Saiyans, gradually becoming known. Is this Raul's strength? Bardock frowned, looking at Raul in the sky. He had witnessed everything, and this overwhelming power made him tremble. Alright, take a short break, the excitement is about to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, you may leave now and come back this afternoon after lunch. The three of you, plus myself, are the four of us who just passed the preliminary rounds group battle. Please come over now to draw lots for the afternoon's matches. Raul shouted, announcing the match time. Hearing that the finals weren't until the afternoon, the other Saiyans quickly left in twos and threes, and the sounds of cooking began to rise from the tents and houses. Several Saiyans who had just experienced the group battle slowly flew over and landed in front of Raul. Except for Bardock, the other two were truly taking Raul seriously for the first time. Based on Raul's performance, they understood he was a formidable opponent, perhaps even unimaginably powerful. While they were wondering how Raul planned to arrange things, Raul took out 4 small slips of paper, each with a number written on it. 1, 2, 3, 4. He crumpled the 4 slips into small balls and held them in his palm. Seeing their confusion, Raul explained, the final arena battles are one-on-one. Whoever draws 1 is number 1, whoever draws 2 is number 2, and so on. Then, number 1 fights number 2, number 3 fights number 4, simple, right? To be fair, I'll draw the slips I wrote last. Who wants to go first? Raul looked at them, extending his palm. Bardock and the others exchanged glances. Finally, Bardock stepped forward first, calmly taking out a crumpled piece of paper. Raul watched as Bardock unfolded the slip and announced, "Number 2, Bardock is number 2. Next." The only female Saiyan among the 4 stepped forward, taking a slip of paper from Raul's hand. It had the number 3 written on it. "Number 3, what's your name?" Raul was about to announce it when he realized he didn't know the female Saiyan's name. The female Saiyan, with short, neat hair and sharp eyes, answered Raul's question directly, saying calmly, "Saiba." "Okay, Saiba number 3, Raul called out. The last Saiyan slowly stepped forward, took out his crumpled paper, and opened it to reveal the number 1. This burly Saiyan looked at Raul and introduced himself casually, "Cattle." "Number 1, Cattle," Raul nodded, then unfolded the last crumpled paper, smiling, "Then I don't need to say anything more. Number 4 is me, Raul." Raul showed everyone the paper with a number 4 written on it. Final result, Cattle versus Bardock, Saiba versus Raul. "Alright, the match time is 1:30 p.m., everyone go back and rest," Raul said, and just as he was about to leave, he patted his head and stopped. "Alright, I almost forgot, you're all dirt poor right now, you don't even have a clock." Raul took out a capsule, searched around, found a large clock, and pulled it out. "I'll put this clock on the edge of our settlement, everyone just need to keep track of the time," Raul said, flying towards the Saiyan settlement and casually hanging the clock on the most conspicuous tree. Everyone else returned to their houses. "Bardock, you're finally back. I'm preparing the food," Jine said with a smile, pulling Bardock inside. Suddenly, Jine saw Raul beside her and Asyana not far away, and called out with a smile, "Raul, Asyana, come on, let's eat. The food will be ready soon." Raul and Asyana's house wasn't far from Bardock's current home, just a few steps away, which Raul had specifically arranged so they could discuss things with Bardock and the others anytime. "Sure, Aunt Jine," Raul said with a smile. At this moment, Asyana flew over, landing lightly beside Raul like a feather, and smiled sweetly at Jine. "Okay, I'll try Aunt Jine's cooking. In Bardock's room, Raul and Bardock sat on opposite sides of the table, while Asyana went to the kitchen to help Jin prepare the food. The two grown men sat at the table in silence. Raul didn't know what to say, and Bardock, except in front of Jin, was always a cold and aloof person, never engaging in enthusiastic conversation. The atmosphere became somewhat awkward. Raul's eyes darted around, remembering something. He had originally planned to tell Bardock after becoming the Saiyan King, but now wasn't too early, especially since Bardock was present. Raul looked at Bardock and suddenly asked, "Mr. Bardock, do you know about the Jinyu Force?" Chapter 72 The Concept of the Special Forces. The Jinyu Force? Bardock, who had been idly pondering his afternoon battle, was startled by Raul's sudden question and looked at him. "I know them." Bardock's expression turned somber upon hearing the name. "Each of them is a super elite. I've met a few of them before, but unfortunately, I've never fought them, so I don't know their true strength." Raul nodded. Ordinary Saiyans might not know much about the Jinyu Force, but powerful Saiyans like Bardock knew something about them. Yes, the Jinyu Force. Raul's first thought wasn't about the Jinyu Force's strength, but rather the unique dance that had left even the Cosmic Emperor Frieza speechless. That strange and peculiar dance had left a deep impression on young Gohan. Raul briefly explained, "Yes, the Jinyu Force is very powerful. Even if Bardock's power level reaches over 10,000, he still can't defeat any of them one-on-one." Bardock frowned, deep in thought. He felt he was already the strongest Saiyan besides Raul and Asyana, yet he couldn't defeat them? Let me give you a brief introduction. According to my understanding and investigation, the Jinyu Force consists of Captain Jinyu, and members Guldo, Bert, Geese, and Raccoon. Among them, the power level is 120,000, possessing the special ability to switch bodies. The other three members are all over 50,000, with Guldo being the lowest, around 10,000. Bert excels in speed, while Guldo, despite his low power level, possesses pressure point techniques and time-stopping abilities. Among other superpowers, 120,000, 50,000, 10,000 is the lowest, and they even have superpowers? Bardock's expression turned to shock upon hearing Raul's explanation. Everyone exceeded his expectations. The one closest to him in strength was actually the one with the lowest power level, yet possessed various superpowers? Of course, it's easy to surpass them. Believe in the potential of us Saiyans. Raul smiled slightly. What Jinyu Force? It was only a matter of time before the Saiyans surpassed them. I'm saying all this because I might establish a Special Forces team in the future. I've already thought of a name, Bardock Special Forces, or just Saiyan Special Forces. Mr. Bardock, what do you think? My name? Bardock looked at Raul in surprise. You mean, we Saiyans will form a special combat team modeled after the Jinyu Forces? And, from what you're saying, I'll be the captain, is that right? Bardock immediately grasped the key point, looking at Raul in astonishment. He understood the other layer of meaning. Raul was determined to win the afternoon's battle. Of course, Bardock also believed Raul would win, because apart from him, no one else had witnessed Raul's battle with Frieza. That violent energy was enough to destroy everything. Naturally, Raul's victory this time was beyond doubt, but Bardock was also eager to test the gap between himself and truly powerful figures like Raul and Frieza. Yes, of course. A Special Forces team can't be too weak. Let's set a small goal, for every member of the team to surpass the strength of the Jinyu Force captain, Raul said with a smile. He was simply stating a fact, while Bardock had just heard Raul mention that Jinyu Force captain Jinyu's fighting power exceeded 120,000. In other words, he wanted an entire squad of Saiyans to have a fighting power exceeding 120,000? Was that even possible? Raul continued to speak eloquently about his vision for the Special Forces. This is just the first step. My ideal vision is that each Special Forces team will be led by a Super Saiyan. Only a Special Forces team with a Super Saiyan can be considered the most powerful Special Forces team in the universe. Even the usually composed Bardock couldn't maintain his composure. His mind was in turmoil. A Super Saiyan, and led by a Super Saiyan? Is Raul really thinking this, or is he just boasting? Mr. Bardock, do you think the legend of the Super Saiyan is true? Raul smiled, seeing Bardock's surprised expression. At the same time, he thought to himself, your own son, Kakarot, will be much stronger than an ordinary Super Saiyan. Surely you, your father, can't even become a Super Saiyan? Super Saiyan. Bardock sighed, his gaze lingering on the houses, so different from Saiyan architecture. I used to think Super Saiyan was just nonsense, but when Frieza inquired about the legend of Super Saiyans among the Saiyans, and even considered destroying Planet Vegeta because of it, I changed my mind. I believe Super Saiyans are possible. No, they definitely exist. Bardock looked at Raul with unwavering eyes. Super Saiyans must be real, otherwise why would so many people care about the legend? By the way, Raul nodded, his face solemn. Super Saiyans do exist, and I believe Mr. Bardock has the potential to become one. Me? Become a Super Saiyan? Bardock's eyes suddenly lit up with a gleam of longing for the legendary Super Saiyan. Yes, since I'm convinced Super Saiyans are real, instead of searching for that elusive, unknown Super Saiyan, why not try to become one? Raul looked at Bardock and knew he was intrigued by the idea of Super Saiyans. But how do you become a Super Saiyan? I've never heard of it before. Bardock then fell silent. How could a legend become reality? Raul looked at Bardock and offered a bait, saying, well, Mr. Bardock, if you're willing to be the captain of the Special Forces, I'll help you become a Super Saiyan. That's my promise to you. Bardock suddenly stood up, looking at Raul in shock, and exclaimed, you're not lying. You know how to become a Super Saiyan? No, how do you know? Raul simply shook his head, smiling, and said, Mr. Bardock, I haven't even said it yet. Are you willing to be the captain of the Special Forces and become the pioneer of the strongest Saiyan team? Bardock slowly sat down, looking at Raul. If you really become the new ruler of the Saiyans, I believe no Saiyan will refuse what you've said. Just like the rules established by King Vegeta, no Saiyan dares to disobey them. Those who disobey die. I, naturally, won't refuse either. Listening to Bardock's words, it seemed as if Bardock was saying, as long as you have the ability to become the king of the Saiyans, I agree to be the captain of that Special Forces team. I won't go back on my word, I won't refuse. Raul smiled and nodded, saying, alright, Mr. Bardock, you'll be the captain of this Special Forces team. Furthermore, I will keep my word. I will become the first Super Saiyan, and Mr. Bardock will also become a Super Saiyan. Bardock looked intently at Raul, sensing his boundless confidence and ambition, as if he truly knew how to become a Super Saiyan. Good, Bardock nodded solemnly, I'll be watching. Raul smiled and nodded in return. Bardock, Raul, what are you doing? Lunch is ready. Jine's clear voice rang out, smiling as she carried a large bowl of food. Asyana, also carrying a large pile of food, called out to Raul, hey, Raul. Don't just sit there. There's a whole bunch of food on the back, help carry it up. Okay. Raul smiled, stood up, and went to the kitchen. Saiyan's appetites were truly terrifying, every meal challenged the limits of ordinary earthlings. Chapter 73, Scene 2. Meanwhile, in the afternoon, on a deserted island far from the Saiyan settlement, a large number of Saiyans had gathered around the island, hovering silently, waiting for the four on the island to determine the final victor. The original natural stone arena had been destroyed, and now they had to find a secluded island for the final battle. Welcome everyone to the final arena battle. First up is Bardock vs. Coddle. Bardock and Coddle flew out from the crowd and slowly landed on the island, as the surrounding Saiyans erupted in incredibly enthusiastic cheers. As Saiyans born for battle, even if they didn't participate themselves, witnessing such a fierce fight would make their blood boil. Bardock, with his handsome, slightly dark skin, looked at the tall and burly Coddle before him. In terms of physique, Coddle was much stronger, tall and with thick arms, looking a whole size larger than Bardock. To an ordinary earthling, even approaching such a burly man would probably feel immense pressure. Conversely, if it weren't for the scar on Bardock's face adding to his imposing presence, the normally unassuming Bardock would be easily overlooked, mistaken for just a young man who enjoys working out. Given the vast difference in their physiques, it was the burly Kader who was more nervous. Kader nervously watched Bardock before him. He had heard Bardock's legends before, but he didn't know if he truly possessed such strength. Even before the fight began, he felt a powerful aura sweeping over him. Alright, the match begins now. Raul shouted loudly, ensuring all the Saiyans could hear. I can't take it anymore, charge. Kader couldn't bear the oppressive aura any longer, he feared he would be overwhelmed before he could even make a move. The moment Raul announced the start of the match, Kader finally couldn't resist and charged directly at Bardock. Bardock watched Kater charge, but his expression remained calm. He wanted to truly fight Raul, to experience the difference in their abilities. This was just a warm-up. Houndock and Bardock collided, unleashing a violent surge of wind pressure. Their figures blurred as they moved at high speed, exchanging blows rapidly. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. A series of afterimages appeared in the sky. All the Saiyans watched their movements intently, feeling the pressure. Even just observing them was blurry. If they were to fight either of them, they would be easily toyed with. Raul watched the battle with a smile, nodding occasionally. These two represented the true pinnacle of Saiyan power. Raul and Asyana had already surpassed the Saiyans of the past. However, Raul wasn't arrogant, knowing that compared to Super Saiyan, this power was incredibly weak and couldn't defeat Frieza, the Saiyan's nemesis. The battle is about to end, Raul murmured, his eyes glued to the fight. A figure plummeted from the sky, crashing onto the island. The fall kicked up a cloud of dust, while Bardock hovered slowly above, unfazed, as if the intense battle had been nothing more than a stroll. A bright energy blast shot out from the dust, hurtling towards Bardock. He easily deflected it with a punch and resumed his high-speed battle with Carter, who was following the blast. Raul frowned slightly, watching the energy blast hurtling towards the crowd. With a swift movement, as if teleporting, he appeared before the crowd and crushed the blast in his hand. Those whose energy blast had landed were preparing to scatter, only to find it gone. Their eyes wide with confusion, unsure what had happened. Inside the arena, the battle was nearing its end. Carter, panting heavily, looked at the composed Bardock, knowing he had done his utmost, yet even a change in Bardock's expression was beyond his reach. This situation only indicated one thing: the difference in their strength was far too great, to the point that any of his attacks were easily countered by Bardock. Carter gathered the last of his strength and unleashed a ki blast. Bardock watched the ki blast hurtling towards him like a rocket, raising his arms to block it. The ki blast collided with Bardock, creating a deafening roar. How was it? Did it work? Carter stared intently ahead, his eyes wide with anxiety. The dust settled, and Bardock stood expressionless, unharmed, only his clothes were somewhat dirty. I lost. I did my best. Carter shook his head, sighed, and flew off the island. Looking at the departing Carter, Raul loudly announced, "The first match, Bardock wins." Bardock, Bardock. Lord Bardock, I love you. Bardock is really strong. It's a pity he was born a low-class Saiyan, otherwise his fighting power would be even more terrifying. So strong. The surrounding Saiyan spectators erupted in loud cheers, and Bardock instantly became the most dazzling figure in the arena. Alright, next, please welcome Saliba and Raul. Raul shouted, then laughed as he flew out of the crowd and landed on the island. Saliba quickly followed, landing in front of Raul. The second match begins now. As soon as Raul finished speaking, a powerful aura rushed towards him. Raul casually blocked with a palm strike, catching the heavy punch. The two immediately moved at high speed simultaneously, engaging in a fierce exchange. Sarava? Are you my sister? I know someone named Celia, do you know her? Raul slapped away a punch Saraba threw at him and asked casually. No. Saraba's face was cold. She took a deep breath and charged at Raul again. Oh, I see. Raul nodded and also increased his speed, engaging in combat. He remembered that lower-class Saiyans not only had many similar names, but some even looked alike. He had only heard about it but had never confirmed it himself. Now it seemed very likely to be true. Do you have any brothers or sisters? Raul, getting a little bored with the fight, asked again. No. Saraba flew into the air and kicked at Raul. Raul caught her powerful calf and slammed her to the ground. Saraba flipped in the air, bracing herself with her hands as she landed. She looked at Raul's relaxed face, but her own expression was very serious. Since physical combat won't work, let's try my final battle. Sarava thought to herself, gripping her right wrist with her left hand, while her right palm faced towards Raul. Boom. A dark blue energy blast flew towards Raul. Raul initially didn't think much of it, but as the blast approached, it suddenly split into two smaller ones, attacking him from the left and right. Raul's eyes widened, staring at the split energy blast. You can do that? Boom. The two split energy blasts struck Raul from the left and right. Sarava stared intently at the spot in the sky where Raul had been hovering. He had indeed been hit by her split blasts. He should be injured to some extent. Chapter 74 The Final Battle. Cough cough. Raul coughed twice, patting non-existent dust off his clothes. Sarava stared in astonishment at the unharmed Raul, her usually cold expression showing surprise. What shocked her even more was that she saw the person in front of her make the same gesture, his left hand gripping his right wrist, palm facing her. No, impossible, how could he know my split shot? Sarava refused to believe that this person had learned her special move after just one glance, preferring to believe that he was merely a show-off. That's probably how it's done. Raul muttered to himself, control the power. Alright. A ghostly blue energy blast shot towards Sarava, who watched in shock as it split into two smaller energy blasts just before reaching her, enveloping her. How is this possible? You really know my special move? Sarava roared in terror, her hands continuing their movements without pause. She quickly condensed a ki blast in charge towards one of the ki blasts, detonating it instantly. She immediately turned, raising her arms to shield herself from the other ki blast. She had considered how to counter this unique technique she had developed. In her view, a powerful ki blast splitting into two smaller ones would naturally reduce its power. She thought she could easily eliminate one with a simple ki blast and block the other with her bare body without needing to condense energy. This seemed to be the case, since the secret of split ki blasts lay in catching the enemy off guard, not in creating a powerful explosion. True power came from both blasts hitting the enemy simultaneously. However, she had underestimated the power of the ki blast in front of her. A deafening explosion resounded through the heavens and earth. Roel, watching Sarava being struck by his ki blast, was stunned. He had been able to withstand the attack because her ki blast couldn't harm him, but why was she trying to do the same? He had clearly reduced the power and slowed her down, couldn't she have simply dodged it? Damn it! Using his senses, Raul rushed towards the very center of the dust cloud before it had even settled. Amidst the bewildered gazes of the surrounding Saiyans, a moment later, Raul emerged carrying a blood-soaked Saiyan in a princess carry. Only after Raul placed the Saiyan at the very edge did they realize that this was none other than the previously energetic Sarava. Just taking a single blast from Raul's energy blast had reduced her to this state, causing a collective gasp of shock. Raul immediately pulled out a senzu bean he always carried and fed it directly to Sarava. With a satisfied groan, Sarava absorbed the bean, her complexion regaining its rosy glow. She slowly opened her eyes, looking at Raul in confusion. I'm not dead? Dead? You just fainted and were seriously injured, but the senzu beans have revived you, Raul said with a smile. With senzu beans, as long as you're not truly dead, you won't die. Senzu beans are truly amazing, Sarava exclaimed, uttering the most common phrase circulating among the Saiyans recently healed by senzu beans. Senzu beans had only recently become known among the Saiyans, thanks to Raul's healing of them. Seeing these magical little beans, capable of reviving someone on the verge of death with just one, all the Saiyans marveled at their wonder. Some Saiyans wanted to obtain senzu beans from Raul or find out where he got them, but Raul resolutely refused them all. Senzu beans, an essential item for home, travel, murder, and arson, how could he let everyone know about them? Aside from giving one to a severely injured Saiyan, no one else was given a senzu bean. Anyone who tried to forcibly take one was severely punished by Raul. Now, all the Saiyans knew. 1. Senzu beans are miraculous, they can heal even the most serious injuries too. Only Raul and Asyana possess senzu beans, and Asyana's senzu beans all came from Raul. To get a senzu bean, one had to persuade Raul 3. Currently, no Saiyan had been able to snatch a senzu bean from Raul, they could only persuade him verbally or have him willingly give it up. Sarava looked at Raul, convinced of his skill, and slowly said, "You are indeed powerful. I lost. Also, thank you for saving me with this senzu bean." Raul smiled and nodded, loudly announcing, "Raul wins this match. Raul. Lord Raul is so strong. Yes, and he looks so young. How did he train so hard? His fighting power is so strong." The Saiyans present once again became familiar with the name Raul. Raul was destined to be known by every Saiyan. Raul flew to Bardock's side and asked, "So, Mr. Bardock, shall we start the duel right away, or take a break?" Bardock stared at Raul, his Saiyan blood boiling, eager for the battle to begin. Bardock, suppressing his excitement, looked at Raul and said in a low voice, "Let's begin. I'm sure the audience is getting impatient." Raul glanced around, seeing the burning gazes in the Saiyans' eyes, and nodded with a smile. "Yes, the Saiyans around here are getting impatient, so we can't keep them waiting any longer. Alright then. Raul soared into the middle of the crowd and shouted, "The final match begins immediately, Bardock versus Raul." Good, finally, the final moment is here. Yes, I've been waiting impatiently. Let's begin. We, the proud warrior race of the Saiyans, should be led by the strongest Saiyans. Yes, the era of Frieza and his son dominating the entire Saiyan race is over. It's finally our turn to truly be in charge. All the Saiyans were filled with fervor. They knew that this battle was destined to be recorded in history. Regardless of who wins, the Saiyans will ultimately be led by themselves, no longer as before, where it seemed King Vegeta ruled, but Frieza and his son were above them, and no one dared to disobey their orders. Previously, Frieza and his son were the true rulers of the Saiyans. Now it was the Saiyans' turn to be in charge. Raul looked at Bardock. After the fierce battle that the nearby Saiyans had witnessed, both Raul and Bardock were full of energy. They were both in perfect condition. Alright, I declare the final battle officially begun. Raul shouted, announcing the start of the match. The moment Raul finished speaking, Bardock didn't attack. Instead, his entire body radiated a powerful aura, forming a blazing inferno that enveloped him. A storm was brewing, its center being Bardock's location. The moment the match was announced to begin, Bardock unleashed his full power, knowing that testing him with ordinary strength would be pointless. Therefore, he went all out from the start. The surrounding Saiyans watched the two intently, especially Katori and Saliba, who had just lost to them and were eager to know the true extent of their power difference. Seeing Bardock gathering his strength, Raul simply stood still, waiting for Bardock's attack. Without a word, Bardock moved in an instant, disappearing from the Saiyan sight, and charged towards Raul at high speed. Chapter 75 The King. A series of violent collisions, each piercing sound echoing, followed Bardock's charge at Raul. The intense clash between the two left many Saiyans stunned. So Bardock hadn't even used his full power yet, Carter exclaimed in astonishment. Bardock's movements were completely different from before, proving that their previous battle hadn't even allowed Bardock to unleash his full strength. He's so powerful. Sariba watched Raul and Bardock's fight intently, observing Raul's swift and powerful attacks. Bang! After a clash of fists and feet, Raul and Bardock quickly separated, hovering face to face in midair. Try this, Raul suddenly said to Bardock. Bardock was somewhat confused, but when he saw Raul's gesture of pointing one finger to the sky, a sense of familiarity washed over him. What's this? Bardock's eyes widened, staring at Raul's actions in disbelief. After Raul pointed his finger to the sky, an energy sphere the size of a ping-pong ball appeared on his finger. This small energy sphere then rapidly expanded into an enormous sphere, resembling a dark red sun from afar. The energy sphere emitted incredibly intense light and heat. Bardock's expression became even more solemn. The Saiyans around him were unaware of this technique, but he had witnessed Frieza use it to destroy Planet Vegeta. Catch it, Mr. Bardock, Raul said, throwing the massive energy sphere directly at Bardock. Boom! Bardock watched the energy sphere approaching him. Although dodging was the best course of action, he still wanted to try. Ha, ha. Bardock roared, gathering all his power, and a dazzling energy wave, like a comet, crashed into the massive energy sphere. Sizzle. Sizzle. The two different energies collided, creating a deafening sound in the air. Bardock's energy was constantly being destroyed by the massive energy sphere, forcing his energy wave forward. This is such a powerful energy fluctuation. It's terrifying. The Saiyans around felt the same powerful energy pressure that Bardock had felt before. For a moment, the Saiyan onlookers were forced backward by this energy storm. How is this possible? I still can't break through, I'm still so powerless. Bardock gritted his teeth. The huge energy ball pressed down on him. He could only increase his own energy, trying to push it back with a ki blast, but he found that it was still the same as before. It was as if he hadn't improved at all. His increased fighting power seemed fake, and he still couldn't resist. Enough, if you keep pressing down, it'll really explode. Raul controlled the huge energy ball to drift upward. Under Raul's control, the huge energy ball gradually rose into the air, deviating from Bardock's direction. Artiz, an explosion. Raul looked up at the energy ball and detonated it directly in the sky. A deafening roar, a silent explosion. An incredibly violent explosion occurred. Everyone's eyes first saw a bright light, and before they heard any sound, they felt a huge energy storm follow. Ah! The earth is trembling. Thousands upon thousands of Saiyans screamed in terror as they were swept away by the energy storm. Bardock, at the very center of the scene, was still struggling against the storm. Sandstorms raged, trees snapped, and a colossal wave surged around the island, radiating outwards. Moments later, the storm subsided, leaving the island utterly ravaged. "Well, Mr. Bardock, shall we continue?" Raoul asked, looking at Bardock. The only one on the island who hadn't been blown away. As for Asyana, she had brought a bunch of old Saiyan detectors to West Capital, intending to hand them over to Dr. Brief for modification. "Forget it." Bardock shook his head, looking at the Saiyans who were gradually returning, and said directly, "I wanted to see the difference between us, but I didn't expect the difference to be so great. I have no power to resist it all. Continuing to fight like this is futile." Bardock took a couple of breaths and continued, "Besides, that energy clash just now has already depleted too much of my internal energy. I'm lost." Raoul nodded, not caring much. Bardock was a bit weak now. Only when Bardock got closer could the two of them fight to their heart's content. Raoul slowly rose into the sky, looking at the growing number of Saiyans around him, and shouted loudly, "I now declare that the final champion of the first World Martial Arts Tournament of the Saiyans is Raoul. Raoul. Lord Raoul is too strong. Should we call him King Raoul now?" "Yes, King Raoul, King Raoul." The surrounding Saiyans let out a series of cheers and roars that resounded through the heavens and earth, excited that their true king of the Saiyans had appeared again. Thousands upon thousands of Saiyans gazed at Raoul with intense admiration, even a hint of fervent worship. As the strongest race in the universe, the Saiyans largely believed in the law of the jungle, their bloodline innately subservient to the strongest. Ordinary strong individuals, not being Saiyans, could only ignite a fighting spirit within them, no matter how powerful. Raoul, however, was now the strongest Saiyan, and this arena battle had demonstrated his power. Defeating 100 Saiyans single-handedly, including well-known figures they had long admired, proved his unparalleled fighting strength. With such a powerful leader, the Saiyans could surely go further and become even stronger. Raoul hovered high in the sky, looking down at the surrounding Saiyans, nodding in approval upon seeing the fervent worship in their eyes. In the Dragon Ball universe, unless one is a true martial arts fanatic with a childlike heart like Goku, everyone will inevitably be connected to this world. Even the current Cosmic Emperor Frieza has a large number of subordinates, commanding the Frieza army, dominating the universe and unstoppable. Looking further ahead, even Super Saiyan Goku needs to earn money from time to time to support his family, otherwise, what will Chi-Chi, Gohan, and Goten eat, and how will they study? Vegeta seems carefree, aiming for the pinnacle of martial arts like Goku, breaking through one powerful opponent after another, but that's only because his wife is Bulma. As the daughter of Earth's richest man, Bulma's wealth is unimaginable, allowing Vegeta to focus on pursuing higher levels of martial arts. Not to mention the ordinary powerful individuals, in their daily lives, they are no different from ordinary people, needing to struggle for a living. That's why Law so desperately wants to build his own powerful force. And looking across the universe, which race possesses the Saiyans' talent for constantly pushing their limits? Fellow Saiyans! Raoul shouted, looking at the spirited Saiyan warriors. Before, under the leadership of Frieza and his son, we Saiyans roamed the land, killing, plundering, and attacking other planets. But what did we get in return? Frieza killed countless of our brethren, destroyed Planet Vegeta, and left all of us Saiyans displaced and wandering. Facts have proven that our previous way of life was wrong. Frieza and his son were merely our enemies, not our leaders. From now on, under my leadership, we Saiyans will create a new world. And we Saiyans and the Frieza clan are irreconcilable enemies. As soon as Raoul finished speaking, a roar like a tsunami erupted around him, a roar of hope for the future, a roar of respect for Raoul. Yes! Kill Frieza. The universe belongs to the Saiyans. Lord Raoul. Long live King Raoul. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.